number of players, including these two gentlemen, sign a form to be able to be considered for a 1,000 break prize, because it was a significant amount of money, $24,000 was being put up if you could make a break of 1,000 or over. And so far through the tournament we haven't been able to achieve that, but we certainly have seen enormous breaks that have been quite mind-boggling in terms of our own standard of play. They're a long way removed from ours, etc. So it's been incredible to have these guys here. We're extremely fortunate to have them, and I sincerely hope that all of you will acknowledge them when they come into the arena, so that you can show your appreciation for their effort in being here. Australia is a fantastic place to live, and it's a very long way to come for most people. Sourav, please. Sourav Kothari. So Kim will take over and run the session through. Could everyone please make sure that their mobile phone is turned off? And on completion of this session, which will be at 6 o'clock, immediately after it, we will be playing a game of mixed Scotch doubles. So we'll use the two ladies who were in the final of the women's yesterday, and they will be paired with some males who have to try and match their capabilities, and they'll have a fun game. So those people that are staying here after 6 o'clock will be entertained royally for an hour while we play a game of mixed Scotch doubles. But now, back to the real business. Thank you.
And welcome back to the 2019 World Billiards Championship. It's a close game in billiards terms. It's 481 to Kothari from India. Plays 382, and good position for Gilchrist to start off with. Just has to manoeuvre the balls a little bit, but it's always a bit dodgy at the start of a session. Had a bit of a rest, so he just plays the easier cannon. And has he hit it too hard? I think he can just play the cannon. Anybody's match. We've still got another 3 hours to go. This is a 2-hour session and the final 1-hour session later on in the evening. But he's in a very good position now, what we call top of the table play. Now, we've got a special guest here. It's very exciting for me. Her name is pretty synonymous with the game. Can't be better. It's a Lindrum name. Tammy Lindrum, the daughter of Horace Lindrum. And just as importantly, from my perspective, the great uncle of hers was a guy called Walter Lindrum. And the godfather to her as well was Walter Lindrum. And the person who I really knew, Dolly Lindrum, was her auntie. So welcome, Tammy.
Thank you, Robbie. I'm very proud to. Thanks, Robbie. It's great to be here, particularly watching this match and the top of the table play. It's remarkable. It brings back lots of memories. Fantastic to ensure that we keep the Lindrum name alive. So seeing this match here in Melbourne, very special for me. So great to be here with you this afternoon.
Yeah, and it's our pleasure. And I went to Dolly's house, which you know very well. It was Walter's house in Kerford Road. I went there many a time. I'll never forget my first time there. A friend of Dolly's, Peter Andrew, snuck me into the house and I played with Walter's cue, made a 60 break. I didn't quite know how friendly he was with Dolly, but I'm getting the idea he was very friendly. He had a key to the place. But you would have spent a lot of time there.
Indeed, Robbie. As you know, Auntie Dolly was a stunningly beautiful woman, and I had the pleasure of growing up with many uncles, of which he was one. So yes, the house is certainly a time capsule, and we were fortunate enough to take 20 of the players out to Kerford Road yesterday, and they certainly experienced, the feeling of the great man and the room where he spent 6 to 8 hours a day practicing, and often even more in
Right.
preparation for these championships. So it's been a terrific opportunity for the guys to see where that man really developed his game.
Well, there's lots of articles there. The first time I met Dolly was in the second Lindrum billiard parlour in Flinders Street, and there used to be articles everywhere. And as I said at her funeral, we both spoke at her funeral, and I'm so honoured that she asked me to do that. I didn't even know, to be honest, and it was great to be there with you. Obviously, I mean, she lived to a good age, so it wasn't really a sad situation. I don't think it was a celebration, and I met her first in that billiard room. I actually got trapped in the lift in that Lindrum's billiard parlour. I don't know if it was an omen, but I did. And when it opened, I saw Dolly for the first time, and I was very happy to see her too. I'll tell you that, as a young kid there. Some of your memories?
Oh, look, she ran that billiard room. That was her life. 20 tables. She ran it, or she was indeed in that business until she turned 85. That to me is remarkable. You know, her passion, her dedication, her enthusiasm. I can well see, you know, that you would have been one of her favourites. And I'm sure she probably had you trapped in the lift.
I don't know about that, but I just didn't know me there. But it was full of history, and the players are still talking about having gone to the Kerford Road and the grave of Walter. Obviously, Walter Lindrum, you know, his scoring was better than anybody's, basically. But a lot of history, that's what we love about the game. And first hand from you is even better. Any other stories you want to pass on?
Yeah, Robbie, I guess because you knew Auntie Dolly so well, one of the things that I did promise her, she probably well knew that, you know, her time was short for the world towards the end of last year, and one of the things that she wanted me to ensure was that I guess I continued on and ensured that the name of Lindrum and the legacy and the history continued.
Oh, that's good to know.
So I'm very proud to say that we've set up a company, a foundation, just recently, which we've called the Lindrum Legends, and that will be to help Australian billiards and snooker help raise the profile and give the name rightfully back to the nation. It's not owned by an individual. Walter Lindrum and the Lindrums certainly belong to the nation.
Well, that's right. Look, I do a lot of corporate entertainment here at the RACV and other venues, and I always start off with the history of billiards and snooker. So if I can help in any way, I'm glad. I would love to. But I talk about the history, Bradman, Farlap, Walter Lindrum, all in the same breath. The younger people, unfortunately, they don't know Walter's name, you know, but let's not get too sad about it, because one of my jokes starts with Bradman, and they don't even know him as much either. And they gets plenty of press. But I didn't know that. That's outstanding news, and hopefully it'll all get into place.
Yeah, look, I believe it will. I think we'll see a couple of Walter Lindrum grants come through later in the evening tonight, and certainly there's already conversations underway to launch a perpetual trophy for Auntie Dolly. At this stage, not a lot of details yet, but I believe we'll have something in place.
Well, breaking news, Tammy. Well done. And, you know, I always talk about Walter because I had that association with winning the World Championship. We've been talking about the coincidence. Maybe we shouldn't get into it too much. They'll lock me up. But that's great. And obviously, your dad too, Horace, a great player. So you know a lot about the game. What about Horace? He a more jovial player? I didn't actually meet Horace, so I don't know. But then what would you like to pass on there?
Yeah, look, I think from a historical perspective, Horace and Dolly lived together for a number of years at Kerford Road, so he was influenced heavily by Walter. And although Dad went on to become a snooker player, I probably think he did that quite deliberately, given that he could never ever become or take over from Walter, and I think he had great respect for that position that Walter held. So he became a natural snooker player. I think he often wished that I had followed in his footsteps, but unfortunately I went on to polo. Thus my lobbying with Auntie Dolly to get Dad to buy me my first horse, so which she did. So
you got a horse.
I got
That's good.
my
Because we were
first
talking
horse.
about a few coincidences. My daughter loves horses. I don't know if I'm going to get her a horse though, but I wouldn't mind her. She's had a bit of a hit at billiards, but I don't think she loves tennis. But yeah, so that's interesting with Horace, and he was a great snooker player. He won the world championship, so in the UK, but probably he's more famous for all his exhibitions, or would you say that or not?
Yes, absolutely. He was employed for many years to go out to Melbourne showgrounds, Sydney showgrounds, indeed a number of the showgrounds, and do sessions at the WD&HO Wills pavilions. And they started off with relatively small viewing area, and ended up having to increase it to about 6 levels of seating to accommodate the numbers that they brought into the pavilion. So, yeah, true showman, I guess.
I think, and it takes different skills. I must admit, like, not that pretty to watch when I play, but my best skill is probably the exhibitions now myself. And funny enough, you've just mentioned something else, WD and HO Wills. Well, they were the main sponsor when we had, the last time billiards was really big was in India, and they had the Gold Flake brand, and we had a sponsor there for about 6 years. Peter, myself, Mike Russell, Geet said we used to play in front of millions of people, and I think WD and HO Wills were the sponsor as well, but under a different name. If I've got that wrong, well, it sounds like a good story anyway. But it was definitely Gold Flake. But yeah, great. And in the meantime, Gilchrist is creeping up, and he should take the lead now, which is good. A close game is a good game, but in these sort of situations, one person can get well in front. Now, it's a bit different to the time when your great uncle Walter was playing. They used to play for 2 weeks to make sure they found the best player. Any recollections of any matches?
Yes.
Or not? Well, not recollections, but knowledge.
Yeah, Robbie, not so much of the matches, but yes, I used to spend quite a bit of time with him out in the billiard room at Kerford Road, particularly at Christmas times, where we always spent that time as a family. And he used to tell me that his game was very much 4 and 5 plays ahead, which I find intriguing, because watching it, I think how could he possibly be literally seeing what he was going to do 4 and 5 shots ahead, but quite deliberate in either bringing the balls to the top of the table, back down to the middle, back to the top.
Well, his contemporary who taught me, Mert O'Donoghue, and Mert told me Walter did confide in him a few times, but in a perfect game, Mert O'Donoghue said to me and Mert was the first guy ever to make a 147 break in the world. He said to me, you can get top of the table in 4 shots from anywhere. So that's, I'm thinking, what you're sort of alluding to, but I think Walter would have been more thinking, I can get nursery cannons in 4 shots or 5 shots from anywhere as well.
Yes.
So, that's interesting. And what sort of... have you got recollections of... I always wonder what sort of person was he? Was it? I had the feeling, and I'm glad if you say the opposite, because then we know. Do you recall, was he a very laid-back sort of person?
Absolutely.
Or I would have thought he was.
Look, even
a bit scatty, if I'm allowed to say, or not?
Look, even as you said that, what comes to mind for me is sitting on the back step, both of us in dressing gowns, cuddling the dogs. So, he was just the type of and if somebody came to the door, very informally in the dressing gown, with the dog and the godchild, come on in, have a cup of tea.
Right.
Robbie, do you want to go out and play a bit of, he was very, very blokey bloke.
Yeah.
Good guy. What you see was what you get. The only quirkiness I ever saw with Uncle Walter was if he was trying to perfect a shot in preparation for a championship.
All right,
he would just be focused on making sure that shot was going to.
Yeah, well, I think, I don't
That's
think
fair enough.
that's not peculiar. We all try to do that. I mean, so how old were you then? Oh, we should. Well, how old was he? So that's before 1960, because I know when he died, because
Yes.
that's the year I was born. I know that.
Yes. I would have been 3. Two, 3, and 4.
Okay, so that's...
so they're special memories
yeah,
for me.
yeah.
And given that he loved racehorses, and my love of horses was very early in
so
life
that's
as
close,
well.
yeah.
So we did have quite a special relationship, even at a very young age.
I think everybody loved Walter Lindrum.
Oh, yeah.
There's no doubt he was an icon. And I'll tell you another... I didn't tell you this bit, but I don't think he was that bothered about money either, was he? Do you know anything about that?
No, in fact, there are stories of the donations to charity where he donated over $2 million towards Red Cross and the war effort.
Yeah.
Also, the first championship he ever won, he needed help in opening a bank account because he just... Yeah, he
wasn't bothered.
No, it
I'm
meant
going to
nothing.
tell you another story then, which I find now, and then we'll be so close mates. So I did an exhibition in a garage about 10 years ago. Not my garage where I practiced, but it was a party, and there was an older chap there, and he says, mine. Well, I knew his name because I remember his name. I'm not good with names, but his name was Robert Charlton. And I remember that because my name's Robert and Eddie Charlton, right? And he said, I used to do I was a bookkeeper, accountant. And I said, and I knew Walter Lindrum, I did his books. And I said, really? And I said, well, maybe there's a story going around that he owed a bit of money to the tax department and that he rang up the Prime Minister, Robert Menzies, and Menzies said, I'll look after it. Now, I don't know if you know that story, but he said that could well be right because he did owe a bit of money. So he sort of substantiated that. Now, once again, be honest, does that make sense?
It does make sense. I know many a time that Sir Robert Menzies turned up at 158 Kerford Road and sat on the end of beds and had chats with people. So he's very well known within the family circle.
So I was freaked out that I met this accountant who was this accountant, and there was just another crazy situation. But I thought that's the case because there's some of the billiard players are very analytical, like myself, but then there's some, David Corsia, maybe Peter, playing now, a lot more carefree sort of thing, and you can see the style of their play. Mike Russell, I think he's a character on his own. So, but that's very interesting and great stories. And you're, where do you live now then?
Well, Robbie, I live on the Gold Coast. I actually live not too far from where Uncle Walter, where he lost his life to food poisoning. In fact, he was at the Gold Coast races just before he had that meal that where unfortunately he did pass away. And I think I've always said to you, given that we share so many things in common and your love of Walter, I've always said you're very welcome to come to the Gold Coast, but I'm never going to eat a meal with you because I would...
because there is the story that I bumped into Walter's tailor, and I had to get a waistcoat when I was a junior, and I had to get a waistcoat made by Walter's tailor. And he refused at the start, but in the end, because he said he would, but he was retired. So I went to his place and he opened up this old wardrobe. I can remember it as it was yesterday. And he said, well, here's the material I used to make all the rooms. It's probably some of Walter's stuff was made out of this. So I got some waistcoats made, and I made, I grew out of it. I was only 15 at the time, and then later on I grew out of the size of it, but I cut a piece of the waistcoat out and put it in my pocket. And when I won the World Professional Billiards Championship, the same one that Walter won, I had a piece of that waistcoat in my pocket. So, yeah, I probably won't come to Gold Coast. I like to meet you here.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll always meet you in Melbourne.
No, but now, coming back to this 100 break, looks easy here, but this is a dodgy situation. He's snookered himself, or a cover as we call it in billiards, Peter. So he needs to play the right cannon here. This is dangerous, because if he misses, he should leave top of the table for Kothari. But, you know, it's so great to talk about all these things with you. All right, so now he's got to come off the cushion. Oh, fantastic shot. And the crowd are clapping, and so they should. Perfect. So now we can continue. He hit that a bit hard. He wanted to leave it on the left-hand side of the white, so he could just play a little cannon and get back straight to top, but there's no big issue. He can go in off. But, well, we look forward to all these Lindrum name continuing.
As they should, Robbie.
Yeah,
I think,
course.
you know, the Australian history, we need to preserve it. It's very special. We need to be proud of it. So it's great that we're committed to doing that.
Yeah, excellent work, Tammy. And how long are you down here for?
Unfortunately, we go home tomorrow, but I try to get down to Melbourne probably every 6 weeks.
Oh, right. Well,
so
we can catch up again.
Yeah, absolutely.
But,
I need to join this beautiful club because it's very special, and that billiard room.
Yeah.
You know, we should be seeing more world championships here, I hope, in the future.
Well, you know, I do work here, and I'm so proud to be part of it. Everybody, all the management at the RACV have been behind it, and they've got lots of things on, but they put it at the forefront of their planning, and I think they'd be happy with it. We've got players from all around the world here, and lots of people coming from interstate to have a look. So hopefully it'll be on more and more. But, you know, it is a members club, and first and foremost we want to look after the members, but Rob Everett, the general manager, has been very happy to see the tournament here. It's been held all over the world, I mean, but in Melbourne, it's the second time it's been in Melbourne, this World Championship, and that was a long time ago, and we know who won that one. It was Walter Lindrum.
So we need to just increase the frequency, Robbie, I think.
Fair enough.
But given that we've got players in Oceania, certainly New Zealand, you know, India, Thailand, Singapore, China, you know, the English, yes, we have a number of guys from England, but it'd be great to see it held in Australia on a more regular basis, and particularly at this venue. It's a beautiful room.
You know, I don't want to be biased, but Melbourne, there's some very clever people in organising billiards, and they love billiards, but there is one in Sydney who's very special, and that's one of our sponsors. He's behind me at the moment, Peter Tankard. He's another lover of billiards. He's on the organising committee, that's all. So there's a group of those people, and that's what you need to get it going. And they all love billiards, and I know another one, David Pitt. He speaks highly of when he met your father, actually.
Yeah.
I didn't know that, but at Dolly's funeral, he said he met Horace at the exhibitions he was doing at the showgrounds, and he took the time out to come in earlier to see him, and he told me that because And I agree with him. I wouldn't do that because he'd be doing it 5-7 hours a day, that show, and you'd want a bit of a rest beforehand. So he really loved entertaining people, and he left a legacy with David Pitt, who's put it on to, had a large influence on this championship.
Well, I think, Robbie, you've been a great ambassador, and I think the organising committee in general have done a great job. You know, this has been a fantastic event. We're seeing some great play. It's just been great effort.
Well, look, I used to go to England and live, and I was waiting for it to come back to Melbourne. It's a bit late for me, but look, yeah, it's a great game. Peter Gilchrist, he's over 100 in front now. He's got a bit of an issue now, out of position again, but he's certainly playing better than the nervous start he had at the start of this match, this championship final. Backspin. Oh, he's tried it. Oh, that's a touch shot. Is the white out? He meant it a bit harder. So the white is in baulk. This is a hard position. Now, he's a very good potter. I would imagine he's going to try the pot here. And if he can pot it, he can go on. He had an attempt at being a professional snooker player as well. You need a lot of luck to keep going on that, but he's a very good snooker player. Let's see how he goes. No, it was not easy. And the thing is, if he leaves an angle and if he can pot, it's not an easy pot he's left, but it's certainly one-two shot, Kothari. So it's a seesaw battle, which is what we want really. I don't think Walter Lindrum liked these seesaw battles.
No,
I don't. Make sure.
I don't think he'd like to give up his time at the table.
That's right. But I think Horace did make 1,000 break as well. Maybe not in a tournament. Maybe he did.
Yeah.
13,000 breaks in his career, including 3 in 1934 when he beat his uncle Fred for the Australian Championship.
I don't know if you heard that, but David Pitt, the Oracle. I've just been talking about you, David, anyway. But yes, he certainly did. He rattled off a few thousand breaks. So I don't think he let, because I only brought that up because Tammy was saying he thought he let concentrate on snooker because Walter was playing. So as you can see, I might be touched by the history of it, but I don't know all about it. But if I had my glasses, I could read that. No, but Horace Lindrum, great break builder at snooker and billiards. And Kothari needs a bit of a break now to stop the influence of Gilchrist. He's come right back. He missed that pot by a fair way, but he was playing better, so I'm pretty sure he was pretty confident of potting it, but it's still a pressure situation. But
different style of play too.
That's right, yeah, exactly. He's got a shorter cue action, Gilchrist longer one, a bit more flowing player. So, but all you want to do is keep scoring. Walter actually had quite a unique cue action, and his grip on the cue was quite different.
Well, Robbie, you would know the story of Walter was traditionally right-handed, but due to an accident where he lost the top of his index finger, he had to learn to play with his left hand. And people have often said, he must have been ambidextrous, but I don't think so. Everything from the family history would say that he picked up the cue and taught himself to play with his father's help through.
That's right.
With his left hand, which I think is also phenomenal.
It is, but I think it's a good thing. There's quite a few golfers and tennis players who've changed hands. I mean, top players. I'm thinking of one in particular, Nadal. He changed hands. He was told to, and I think there's a mental thing that it can help you as well. And funny enough, my daughter's just changed hands at tennis, and they do a test, and so. Anyway, she's playing left-handed, but I think he could play both hands. He could play I think he would play no hands, actually, if it came to it. But now he didn't really want that red to go in. That's a bit unlucky, and I think when you're right in the zone, you pot that red more often than not. But he's got it in off, but he would have liked to left the red on the table, and it's a bit of a snowball effect. Now this is basically the hardest in off you can play, the long in off in front of that centre spot. Pressure shot here actually. Oh, and he's having a few looks at it. He should get it, but these are missable. And it just snuck in, and that's what he wanted. But he's hit it a bit thin. That's why it's come back more in the middle of the table. If he hit it one fraction thicker, it would have gone over the centre pocket for an easier in off. But Tammy, it's been great to talk to you.
Robbie,
you are just, it's just phenomenal that we're sitting here with history. It's all coming together. As I was saying, there's lots of billiard fanatics in Melbourne, and it's all a trickle-down effect from Walter Lindrum and his compatriots, and in doing so, it's all a trickle-down effect from where you used to spend a lot of time in Kerford Road with Dolly Lindrum, and obviously your father as well. So the history continues.
Absolutely, Robbie. It's been great to have an opportunity to sit with you and be part of this tournament over the last few days. So thank you so much, and I look forward to seeing you later at the presentations.
Yes, it'll be great.
Gilchrist, 2.
So welcome again to the World Billiards Final. This is David Pitt, bringing you the second session of the final from the RACV club here in Melbourne, Australia. A fascinating stage of the match now, with Peter Gilchrist having come from about 100 behind at the end of the first session. He's now hit the front with a 100 break himself, and he's got a lead of about 80 or 90. Not much on here because Sourav has put his ball over on the white cushion. I think we might see a little safety exchange here, which will give me a good chance just to have a little chat with Tammy Lindrum, who's kindly agreed to stay on in commentary here. And Tammy, I just wanted to have a little talk to you about your father Horace, who was one of the best gentlemen it would be possible to meet. And I know Robbie referred to a little story about me and him earlier in the commentary, but just to expand on what actually happened. As you know, your dad used to do the exhibitions out at the show, both in Sydney and in Melbourne, and a really grueling, week of exhibitions on the hour every hour. And when I was very young, I went out to the Melbourne show with a couple of mates and saw his exhibitions. I was absolutely spellbound by his skill with the balls, with his patter and his little jokes, which were really good and kept the audience involved. He was a complete master of entertainer, of entertaining the audience. And anyway, I sat there fascinated and watched 2 shows in a row, and he did exactly the same show each time. And I went up to him at the end of the second one. I said, hello, I introduced myself, and I said, that was fantastic, but I wonder if you could you show us some billiards. And he said, oh, look, it doesn't fit into the format of the program. I'm on every hour, on the hour, and I've got a fixed program and the trick shots and snooker and everything like that. I can't do it. He said, but I'll tell you what to do. If you come out on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock before I start, I'll show you a few things. So I went out with my copy of his book that I had, which he autographed for me, and with a couple of mates, and he spent an hour showing us billiard shots, nursery cannons, taking the balls around the table, top of the table, chat the whole time. You couldn't shut him up. And he couldn't have been nicer to three young, enthusiasts of the game.
He would have loved it. He would have loved the fact that you were showing so much passion and enthusiasm. I was blessed. I used to take 2 weeks off school every year to go to that show with him and watch those trick shots. And he just loved the crowds. He loved entertaining, and I can just see him with you and doing that, coming in specially to share that with you.
It was very, very, very kind and very, very warm.
And I was saying to Robbie, that when they first started. WDNHL Wheels doing those shows, they had a relatively small viewing area for spectators, and over the years it grew. They had to continue to put in
more stands.
And they couldn't believe the number of people that they would get into both the Sydney and the Melbourne show. But I was certainly a part of a lot of those shows, so but saw him the way he interacted with people. He was so giving, and I think that's a little bit of a Lindrum trait when you look at Walter and Horace. They loved to give if they could, and if somebody had the passion and enthusiasm, they would want to share that with you.
So the other interesting thing about that is it just shows that Horace
could do both.
Well, he could do both. But the fact that he was able to continue his profession as a billiards and snooker professional when there really wasn't any tournament play, nothing happening in Australia, he couldn't, he'd given up living in England and playing in the tournament circuit there, but he still was able to continue his profession on the exhibition circuit, and he found a way to use his skills, to continue his profession, which was fantastic. So Sourav's got in nicely here at the top of the table. He's got the better of that safety exchange with Peter Gilchrist, and now is in a lovely position, to make a sizable break, possibly to pull the lead back, which is great. The other thing that I loved about those exhibitions was that it wasn't just the standard trick shots and so forth that you often see, but he had those props with the basket and the handkerchief and all those little things.
The egg
with his finger spinning. The finger spinning was fantastic with the egg.
Amazing.
He used to be able to, for those who may not have seen it, it's on YouTube, you can see this. He had a ceramic egg which he would use to spin down to pot a ball into the top right-hand pocket, and then the egg would wiggle its way across the top cushion and pot a ball over on the left-hand top pocket. It was just fantastic to watch.
It was.
And he was able to do that because I believe he was double jointed.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct. And I love the other favourite of mine was the basket shot where he'd have the red ball. He'd put the ball into the basket and then send the white one in to bring the red ball out. And again, I'd say to anybody, have a look at that shot because it's just.
And then he would do the same thing again, and this time he would bring the white out.
Yes.
So it was like he was a magician as well as a
completely.
As well as a thing. And let's not forget, a great player.
A
we're
great
talking about
player.
his 1,000 breaks here. He won the 1952 World Professional Snooker Championship, and just a great ornament to the game.
I think that's why I guess I'm so passionate to keep the whole history of the family alive. From the Freds as well that were Australian champions. Walter obviously, Horace and Dolly. What she's done is remarkable as well.
So tell me, Tammy, recently I discovered that there was Fred IV.
Yes.
Who only died in the 1980s. So I wasn't aware of that until just recently. Your
great uncle?
No, your uncle.
Yes, uncle.
Yeah, your uncle.
Yes,
uncle.
Yes.
Okay. Did you know him?
Not as well
as the others.
Yes.
As all the others.
Yes. And Dolly, certainly, Dolly and I had a great relationship. I grew up with Dolly, so as my godmother, and yes.
So Sourav going along nicely. He's just got to stun this one out a little bit to give himself a bit of an angle. He's done that beautifully. Stun, run through, just to widen the angle there, so he can play this. He's got two choices here. He can go thin off the red, which is a little risky. Oh, he's done that beautifully. Yeah, a little bit of check side, just going wide to leave a cannon coming back. So, lovely shot that. A lot of people would have tried to finish straight on the red for a pot, but he just played that slightly differently to leave a cannon coming back. So highly skilled play. Well, Tammy, it's been really thrilling for us to have a Lindrum here this week. I'll just tell you one more little story. Tammy rang me a couple of weeks ago and said, "Oh, David, I'm excited. I'm coming down to Melbourne. Where do I get tickets?" And I said, "Tammy, your name is Lindrum. You will never have to pay for a ticket for a billiards event in your life." And we're just delighted to have you here, Tammy.
Oh, thank you.
And great to have you on commentary and everything that you're doing for the game.
Thank you so much. It's a fantastic, great event, and as I said to Robbie earlier, the organisers have done a terrific job, and hopefully we see this event here again in the future. So thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tammy. Where's Chris? Yeah. Okay, I'm joined in commentary now by Chris Coombe from England, who is out here to play in the championship. And welcome, Chris.
Yeah, thanks very much, David. And I was really interested to listen to that conversation there with Tammy and yourself and Robbie earlier. I was really lucky to visit the Lindrum house yesterday, and it was really nice to visit. I mean, it's just so much memorabilia there, and pretty much as it would have been when Walter lived there. It was like going back in time, really, and it was really lucky to visit that. And there's pictures on the Billiards Bible as well on Facebook for anyone who wants to have a look. But
yeah, so you've drawn the short straw here, coming in into commentary straight after Tommy, because it's Tammy. It's a pretty hard act to follow there. She's just fascinating to hear, a close relative of Walter Lindrum's here in commentary. So very exciting for everyone here. But yes, your visit down to Kerford Road yesterday, and you put a great collection of photographs on Facebook, which I saw and has been shared on a dozen or more different billiard sites. Tell us a little bit more about that visit, Chris.
Yeah, well, there was just so much there. I mean, the billiards room in particular was just incredible, really. I mean, the table was an old Cox table, Duke of Edinburgh, and I believe there's two of those models. One of them is this table that they're playing the final on. So that was obviously, to think that Walter had practiced on that table, every day. I mean, it was just incredible. And, the house was obviously had not really changed much since, Lindrum Walter had been there. So, yeah, fantastic, and just really lucky to have seen it. But
yes, it's a beautiful table in very good condition. It's like the tables here at the RACV. It's actually part of a matching set of a Duke of Edinburgh Blackwood table with a chiffonier scoreboard and a revolving what's called a barley sugar cue stand, which has got twisted pillars on it, and it revolves around. So a beautiful matching set of three-piece set of furniture. So a nice shot from Sourav here. I've been admiring his play this week. He's in the Indian mould in a sense, he's a safety first player. He doesn't take too many risks. If the balls get slightly out of position, he's perfectly happy to go in off rather than perhaps take on a thin or a risky pot. And he's up until this match, he's really sailed through in the tournament. No real trouble in the round robin or the early stages of the knockout. And as we watch, he's on 116 to go and has just hit the front again. So the lead's changed now about 3 times in this game. How do you see it going, Chris?
Well, when I was watching most of the first session, I thought Sourav looked more confident really of the two. I mean, obviously he was helped by his early 200 break that he had at the start, near the start of the first session, which got him settled in a bit really. But Peter was on 30 unfinished at the end of the first session, and he took that up to just short of 100 at the start of the second session, and then he had another 100 break. So Peter started much more confidently the second session, but like I say, it seems to be changing hands quite a lot and going back and forward. So if it carries on like this, we could be in for an interesting last session. But let's see how this session goes, and if one of them knocks in a really big break, that could obviously be a big factor really. But at the moment, it's pretty hard to call, I think.
I think it is. I don't think we're going to see 1,000 break here, because I don't think with the match so close, you're going to see either of these players taking the sorts of risk that are probably required to make 1,000. 1,000 break, you'd have to be playing 90% of it at the top of the table, and just occasionally taking a bit of a risk with maybe a thin pot or something like that to retain position, just to make it easier to solve. But I don't think either of these guys is going to do that. Oh, this could be a bit nasty.
Yeah, like you said, it's looking unlikely that we'll see 1,000 break, unfortunately. But I'm sure there's still a possibility of a really big one at the in this match. But
so the underwriters of the 1,000 break will be breathing a sigh of relief that that's a good shot. That he's got a lovely contact on the red there. He would have preferred to hit that about 3 inches further, but that's not too bad. He can pot the red once or twice here, and then just leave himself come across for an in off the yellow. Sorry. So we're just watching Sourav walk around now to just see the correct angle for the half ball in off the yellow there. And he'll just be stunning this red up into that position where he had his hand on the table a moment ago. Very good potter, Sourav, very good snooker player. He won a big snooker event here in Melbourne earlier this year, and like all the top players, he's a really strong potter.
yeah, I mean, it's not too many players that can play snooker and billiards at a really high level. I mean, like I say, he's won a big snooker event in Australia this year, and yeah, to be able to mix both games and win events at the top level is sort of not very common, really. But he's got a great cue action, and like I say, really solid. Never really looks like missing any pots he goes for. He's
very compact. Quite a shorter bridge than, certainly a lot shorter than Peter with his long bridge, but very compact, very lovely cueing action. So he's just popped the bite down onto the top cushion, and we noticed this earlier in the first session. He's got the yellow slightly to the right of the spot. Most people would be thinking about playing this into on the other side of the table to bring the red over the centre on the right-hand side of the table as we look at it. But Sourav, twice now I've seen him play it like that onto that side of the table.
Interesting.
What's the thinking there?
Well, I was thinking like you, David, just play the in-off into the upper pocket and leave the red on the right-hand side of the table as we're looking, and he may have left himself a in-off into the middle, or a pot, or even a drop cannon, and then he could nudge the white back, sort of the yellow rather, in the right direction towards the spot. But
actually, now I look at it and see what he's doing now. He's going to try here and just get pretty well straight on the red, and then he can just play a gathering cannon to bring them together on the top cushion. We'll see how it goes. My powers of prediction are notoriously poor in this game, but I got it right this time.
Yeah, he played that really nicely. He can sort of manoeuvre the balls really nicely from here.
So he's looking pretty strong here, 164 to go to just go about 80 in front. So really fascinating session this. Quite often you would expect that the middle session of a long final like this would be would be the decisive one where one player or other could stretch it away, but they're just staying, within close range of each other. Anything under 200 is nothing for these guys. So we've just had a note from our crowd controller, Robert Higgins, just to mention that if we have a look around the room, you can see that the crowds are starting to build up. There are 7 or 8 deep seated on the right hand side there behind Sourav, and there's also people standing there. So all in all, there must be around about 140 people watching in here now.
Yeah, it's great to see such good crowds here. I mean, there's been good crowds all week really, but especially these latter stages, it's brilliant to see such enthusiastic people coming to watch. And
the good crowds are due largely to the enthusiasm of the RECV members. When we first put the tickets on sale for our RECV members, and we gave them a discount, they virtually bought all the tickets for the semis and the finals in the first week. That was 3 months ago. So that gave us a lot of confidence about the event, that that we would be able to do things like put in some tiered seating around the match table here, and that actually funded that seating, those early ticket sales. So the support from the RACV club here in Melbourne has been absolutely fantastic. They've ensured that their tables prepared by Alcox are in absolutely fantastic condition and playing very evenly around the room. All the players have been full of praise for the playing conditions here. Chris, how have you found them?
Yeah, the table's been fantastic. Yeah, it's just been the venue is amazing, really, from the tables to the accommodation upstairs and all the facilities here. It's fantastic, and thanks to the efforts of everyone involved in organising. I mean, the event has also had good coverage on radio, I believe, and on the news, local news. Is that right?
That's right. Yeah, we were on the ABC News last week. A story about the event. We've had radio coverage, 3 or 4 interviews by different players on the radio, press coverage in one of the local newspapers this morning, and we're hoping to get a bit more coverage as we go along. Just a little bit narrow this sin-off, so it's a bit tricky. Narrow. Oh, nice shot! I played it as a thick run through. That's a pretty good shot, isn't it?
Yeah,
Chris?
he left himself a nice drop cannon there.
Yeah, that's a very good shot. I think most players would have probably played that thin.
Absolutely, yeah. And then wondered why perhaps he may not have left a good position afterwards. But that's really worked out well
that's
for
a
him.
confident shot, which shows he's playing very confidently. 191 to go.
This is like I say, Peter did start the second session quite well and a lot stronger than he did in the first session, and this is a good response from Sourav.
Yeah.
And it's interesting, this final has been played over 3 sessions, and certainly the last few years that I can remember, it's always been held over 2.5 hour sessions. But was there sort of any sort of reasoning behind why that was
so
made,
the thinking there was we were a bit concerned about our sponsors and supporters, from the corporate world. There'll be quite a number of people, particularly coming in tonight after the sponsors' dinner, who perhaps haven't seen a lot of billiards before. And we were just a little bit concerned that 2 hours of billiards might be it could wear a little bit, I suppose, is what we're thinking. So we thought we'd work backwards and make the final session sort of short and sweet for them, so that hopefully that the match was close and there'd be some excitement there, or perhaps if the match wasn't close, we might see some big breaks from either the leader or the player who was behind. And one option that we looked at was to play sort of 300-minute sessions, but we felt that we just felt that we'd like to stick with the traditional 2-hour sessions. We ended up with this unusual format of 2 hours, 2 hours, and then 1 hour in the final session. So we'll see how it goes. I don't think it matters too much to the players. They're just happy to be in the final from their own point of view. But I think we were thinking definitely more from the spectator point of view.
Yeah, obviously these top players are used to playing long sessions, but it may help in their favour to have that extra break just to, because it is, well, I'd imagine for these best players, after a whole week of tough matches, and maybe that can help keep them a bit more fresh for especially if it's pretty close. It could be an exciting finish, but it's looking like that. I mean, just see how long Sourav can keep this break going. I mean,
yeah, so he's just past 200 now, 203 to go. So it takes him to from 100 behind to 100 in front, roughly. And he's looking very good, putting confidently. That was a good putt that he just made then, which he had to get his extension out for to reach, but he hit it firmly with side to just bring his ball around the angles. And here he is back again in perfect top of the table position. Just checking this one off the cushion.
Oh,
just snuck that in off the jaw. They will go in because the pockets here are the old Billiards and Snooker Control Council templates, which are really, you'd probably say they're billiard templates rather than snooker templates. And the pockets that a lot of billiards is played on now, really, it's billiards played on snooker tables, whereas when snooker started, snooker was a game played on billiard tables. So that definitely wouldn't go in on the tables that the pro snooker players on, but. For billiards, this is probably a better cut of the pockets. Do you have a feeling about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I've sort of obviously been playing in this event, and I think as from my point of view as a sort of average type player, I guess it's a nice sort of cut for billiards. Really, I mean, you've still got to be accurate, especially pots when the red is or the object ball is near the top cushion. You've still got to be accurate. But I've seen a few shots missed that have rattled and stayed there, but you can play some shots with freedom as well, and especially the billiard type shots with lots of side on the cue ball. And
gee, that was a good shot he just played then. That was just a little soft stun, to widen the angle there, but he hit the yellow. That was a very good shot.
Yeah.
Very good shot.
To judge that at such a delicate pace.
That was a shot of somebody who's in complete control of their game. Most club players, if they tried to play that shot, they would overcook it and probably end up with a smother or something like that. That's very, very good controlled firm shot. So yes, I know, for instance, in Leeds they tell me on the pit table that when all the players, the top players are sitting around, if somebody gets a long jenny, everybody claps because the pockets are so tight that long jennies are almost impossible. But
you've got to really get deep into the pocket. You can't really afford.
But here, the long jennies, the pocket's just a little bit more generous, as they should be, because I mean, a long jenny isn't a shot that requires extreme accuracy. It's a shot that requires free cueing and plenty of side. That's the key to the shot, rather than complete accuracy of striking. And it's good to see that here the players get the rewards for that. Another nice shot there from Sourav, very close to the first ball, and he had to run through it nicely. Very easy to play a push shot there, or to not play it properly. This is a confident shot that he's just played. He's left himself only 3 or 4 inches off the cushion there, straight on the red. But he's backing himself in to pot this red. It's no snack. But not only does he have to pot it, he has to just pace the white ball just to bounce off the top cushion. He's hit it firmly.
Yeah, I was wondering whether he's going to play the shot that you suggested, hit a bit more confidently.
I should have learnt by now not to try and predict what the players are going to do when they're playing.
Well, I thought he may have done that, but he's hit it quite positively.
So now, again, confident to pot that and stun up to the middle. So, confident billiards. Again, it's not quite right. He's on the wrong side of the red here, but we'll see what he conjures up. Just while Sourav is having a bit of a think about this position, I'll just have a little chat about the support that we've had here, which has enabled us to run this tournament. From the RACV Club, which has been our major supporter of the event in allowing us to use their billiards room for 10 days, having all the players stay here at the club with functions and so forth that they've repeated. Just break that up to say what a great shot that was that Sourav just played there. Pacing his ball off 2 cushions to leave a perfect drop, a perfect half ball cannon. Great shot that. Just again, this is no snack. He has to have a bit of a think about where he's going to leave his white from this pot. He's got to pace this one correctly. The pot's, straightforward enough, but the pace is all important on this shot. Just a little slight difficulty making a bridge there. He's got quite a long bridge there because he's bridging on the cushion. He's having another think about that. He's gone back to a normal bridge. Oh, confident shot.
Yeah.
Confident
Peter's
shot to
looking
stun
on
that.
in his chair there. I mean, he wouldn't be
Yeah.
too concerned at this stage,
Yeah,
but I mean, look, Sourav's really showing how confident he is at the moment.
So extending his lead out, towards 200, 253 unfinished. He's made the two big breaks of the final so far with 279 in the first session, and just as commentator Chris, just as I'm praising how well he's playing, he's missed a lovely break at 250 there. 253 by Sourav to take the lead, 774 to 601. So, but it wasn't the worst miss because by hitting the red firmly, it's gone away from the corner and left Peter with quite a difficult position here. Well, if that comes out of balk, it's a great shot. And it hasn't. Yeah, he hit that very, very hard. But he needed to hit it even harder to bring that out of balk. It was an excellent shot, but it virtually wasn't on to bring the ball out.
Looks like it's taking a long pot here, shaping up.
Oh, he's rattled that, and the red hasn't gone kindly for him.
Difficult shot to play when you've been sat down for a while. And what's worse,
right.
look where he's left the yellow there.
Yep. He's so definitely advantage Sourav in that little exchange. Peter will be just sitting there. Nothing he can do about that. I mean, he had to play the red firmly at that pace. If he missed, it could have gone anywhere. But as it turned out, it's run over the balk pocket.
Yeah.
So nice position for Sourav. He can, with this sort of three-quarter ball pot, he can virtually put his white anywhere on the table he likes.
Yeah.
So just be interested to see, what decision, how aggressive he does get on this one. The answer is very aggressive. Bringing it straight back down towards the spot, and not a great position, but certainly entirely manageable. He might have to get the long one here.
I think he would have preferred to leave the white ball there a bit further to the right and then have the yellow to a red cannon there, but still he can
this is
lot of movement of the cue ball needed, wasn't it, really, to get there, but
you might have to get this extension out here. So just talking again about our supporters here, Sport and Recreation Victoria. The Victorian government have been wonderful in providing support to this event through their state special events program, which funds major championships in Victoria. Endeavour Life Care, the naming rights sponsor for the World Billiards Championship, a furniture supplier here in Melbourne, who are displaying some of their products. You can see their chairs in the background of the picture here. Reed Furniture, the sponsor of the World Open, who are also in a furniture company who sponsored that wonderful event, which featured a high break of 655 by David Corsier. Silex Ergonomics, the sponsors of the World Women's Billiards Championship, which concluded yesterday with a exciting final, only 40 points difference in the end, and Melbourne's own Anna Lynch won that championship, beating Judy Dangerfield of Adelaide, and as a parochial Victorian, I was delighted to see that because it made Anna the fourth World Billiards champion that we've had here in Melbourne, the others being Walter Lindrum, the World Professional Champion in 1933 and 1934, Tommy Cleary, the World Amateur Champion in 1954, Robbie Falvari, the World Professional Champion in 1986, and now Anna Lynch, the World Women's Billiards Champion in 2019. So we've got a proud tradition of billiards here in Melbourne, and we're delighted to add another world champion to our ranks.
Yeah, great to have such support from all the sponsors there, so my thanks to them as well, and I can certainly vouch for the comfort of those seats there. I haven't spent most of my game with Matt Bolton sat down, unfortunately, but they are very nice, and very good to have such good sponsors and support for the game.
So Chris, then after having had the comfort of sitting in the sponsor's chair, during your loss to Matt Bolton. Were you then able to console yourself by indulging in the products of the Hanging Rock Winery, who are also sponsoring us here after the match?
Yeah, well, I've been putting they got the Guess the High Break prize, of course, so that's been running every day, and it's great to nice prizes there available thanks to the sponsors there for that. So. Do you know what the closest anyone's actually got to guessing the high break each day is?
Well, the first day, Russ Delahunty was only one off.
1 point.
He guessed that was on the second day of the World Open. He guessed 521, and the high break was 522. So that's a pretty good effort. And just to show that it was no fluke, Ross fronted up the next day for another magnum of Hanging Rock wine by winning it 2 days in a row.
Oh wow!
Yeah. But highly suspicious, though. Don Richter was the organiser of that.
Was he allowed to enter the third day?
Yeah. Well, yesterday, surprise, surprise, Don Richter won the competition. So there'll definitely be a steward's inquiry into that, just to discover exactly what was going on. So I think Don guessed 411, and the high break was 400. So that just added a bit of interest for the spectators here. The chance to win a magnum of this beautiful wine, which I was able to sample on our closing ceremony for the World Open, and we're delighted to say we're going to be serving those wines at our sponsors' dinner tonight, and then at the after-match function after the end of the final tonight. So Sourav back in now, 34 to go. He's got the balls in nice position, just playing some open billiards for a little while here, until he can manoeuvre them back down to the top of the table.
Oh, got a bit of a bounce there.
Oh, open, okay. He's opened it into baulk. No, he didn't just hit it into baulk. He's hit it a long way into baulk. That's
unusual to see.
Unusual to see that. Yeah. I mean, occasionally the ball might just, sneak an inch or two in, but he's absolutely caned that one and almost got it to the baulk cushion. Just a major lapse of concentration there from Sourav. So Peter sitting back there will be quite relieved about that, but he shouldn't get too relieved, because I would suggest to you that in 3 or 4 shots' time he'll be facing a double baulk. Oh, look at this!
Great effort that.
What a great attempt there by Sourav. He tried to knock the yellow onto the red there and knock them both out of baulk, or knock the red out of baulk, and he nearly succeeded, just missed by a fraction on that really, really good shot.
Got to be so careful playing those types of shots, especially on these cloths. So easy for the cue ball to just spring and miss the in off.
Yeah.
But he, like I say, he got so close to. Pot yellow and double baulk to follow, so he's not giving Peter any chances.
Yeah, so Peter, would have been, getting a little bit excited when the red went into baulk, but he shouldn't be too excited, because he hasn't got anything to shoot at here. So our other sponsors, Lock Logistics, Wine Storage, who've been so good in supporting some of our keen billiard players who are also wine lovers. That's a bit unlucky. That's just gone out of baulk. Mount Compass Golf Course in South Australia, over on the Fleury Peninsula, which is of course a great wine producing region of Australia. They're sponsoring us too. Resolution Imaging, who've done all our printing of the great program we have here, the banners and all the signage around the club. Aussie Fresh, who've underwritten the $24,000 prize for a high break, and of course our trade sponsors. We can't play without cloth, balls and tables, and we've got the best of everything of that. Alcock's table fitters manufactured these tables between 140 and 110 years ago, and they've been servicing the tables here at the RACV club for 115 years, which is quite extraordinary. Strawn, our cloth suppliers, providing this beautiful superfine cloth that the players have praised so highly during the week. Aramith, of course, who supply the balls for all the major champions, and I understand Aramith make nearly 1 million balls a week, which is just incredible, and the quality control that they have in that factory is extraordinary. I measured these balls for this final myself, and they're all accurate to within 1/10 of a gram. They're all 143.2 grams, which is wonderful. And of course, Consolidated Leisure and Sport, the sponsor of record for the Australian Billiards and Snooker Council, who've been so supportive of Q Sports for so many years here in Australia. That's enough from me. I've been waffling on for quite a long time, and now to step into commentary is the great New Zealand champion, Wayne Carey. So great to chat with you, Chris, and I'll just leave you now to have a little chat with Wayne.
Yeah, thanks so much, David. Yeah, that's. So welcome to the commentary box, Wayne Carey, and I know you've been enjoying the action this week and playing in the events. So how's it been for you this week?
I just think it's fantastic. We've really enjoyed it this week. And have a look at these guys playing right now. Now, I was one of the lucky people in 2007 that saw Peter Gilchrist get his 1,346 break. I was actually on the next table refereeing, and then someone came over to give me a break while I watched him get right through to 1346. It was a magnificent break. Not under these rules, of course. But at the current time, of course, Peter just can't get these balls to roll for him. And again, at least he's got to look something like looking at a start here. Magnificent player, magnificent record. As you know, he's going. The gentleman may have already mentioned this, but he's already had 3 World Championships, and this will be his 4th.
Yeah, incredible record, and it's 30 years since Gilchrist played in his first World Final as well, 1989, and that was in New South Wales, I believe. So yeah, great career he's had, and still going, obviously, and like I say, a chance to win his fourth title, and looks like he's. I mean, White's gone a bit awkward there. I think he's just gone a little bit too far into the centre for a drop cannon, but you have to negotiate this in off and avoid potting the White as well, I think.
That's what I was actually just mentioning. He just can't get them to run the way he'd like them to run. Just everything's becoming just that little bit hard. But if anyone can, Peter can.
Like I say, just tried to avoid the pot White there. It's just in that awkward spot, that White, unfortunately for Peter. And
exactly what I'm saying. They're just not running for him.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, just not quite getting the balls together, is he, at the moment? Unfortunately for Peter, but he did get he had a good start to the second session. This session here, Peter did, but it's just Kothari came back and had a good 200 break. That's the second 200 break he's had in this match, and in fact, and obviously looking quite good for him here, Sourav, at the moment. But
with credit to Sourav, he's really playing well. He's taken his time. As everybody's already heard, he won the World Championship last year, and it's repeated the same final. And again, while he missed that on the way down, he's been lucky enough to retrieve it on the way back.
And they've also played, since last year's final, they've also played in another major final in the last time they were in Australia, the Pacific International final, and Peter won that, so that was the last major final they played, and since their world final last year.
Wow. He may lose this. He has. But again, he just may have another starter here. This yellow could come up and hit the red if he's lucky after the in-off.
Tried a similar shot that he played just a few moments ago, just trying to get the yellow onto the red and knock the balls out of bulk, but it's he just just ran a bit short there for the in-off in the middle, but it's in the middle of the table, so he's still got a shot here. These are always missable, aren't they, Wayne? These long, extra long in-offs, and they sort of, when the yellow's just a few inches below the centre spot.
Lovely, lovely cue action. Watch his cue action. Look at that, that's lovely.
Yeah.
Dead straight. If nothing else from anybody watching this, make sure you see, watch the cue actions of both these gentlemen.
Always keeps his head really still, doesn't he? And
yeah. Superb.
Yeah, nice pulls at the end of the backswing and really strikes the ball crisply, but he's, like I say, not giving Peter any chances at all. Really. Enough a double bulk and didn't really have much else on there.
Well, he's in front and he's controlling the game.
Yeah. With about 45 minutes left of this session, he doesn't want to see Peter get any sort of rhythm going, and he'll really have the advantage then going into the last hour.
Most times the good players like to leave themselves in and off on these type of shots. That's exactly what Sourav has done.
Yeah, and Peter's got to make a decision now whether he tries to disturb the balls or run the cue ball to the side cushion. It looks like he's going to have to
I think
disturb
he's trying
them.
to go in off here.
Yeah, he played one of these shots earlier and actually got the in-off earlier in the first session, and that was at the start of his 30 and finish break that he finished the first session on. He played off the side cushion, double bulked and got in off the red, but you're always relying on luck really in those shots, and he's left Sourav a possible, well, I think he looked at the in-off, the cannon right there off the yellow, but couldn't quite get into it enough. So.
And again, Sourav has just finished that awkward place in the middle of the table. Looks like he might have a forcing it off here. You know, he doesn't like it. Again, just ugly, and the yellow's in the awkward place for the long loser in the bottom left. But it looks like he's going to do the forcer here. Now with this, he's got to get the red in and out of balk. You know.
Yeah, like I said, that yellow's really not in a good position to help his cue in there. It's just, and if he
cranking
plays
him
this in
up.
off into the top right pocket as we look, it's the red's on the wrong side of the table for that, really. It's just, so he's really going into a bit of a narrow pocket here.
I would say he's trying to develop the red for a pot so that he can now manoeuvre himself to get the yellow out of balk with an in-off.
That's an excellent shot from there.
Yeah,
That was a really narrow pocket really from there, wasn't it?
And there's
especially
the pot I was talking about.
bringing it
Although
on free cushions, like you say, that was
he's got the pot and now he's got the in-off yellow. And then he's got all three balls playable on the table. Or is he playing the in-off there? No, he's played the in-off. Yeah. Slightly different angle here looking at this view. And of course, don't forget, the gentleman you're watching right now, his father has also been world champion, Kothari. So there's not many sports where father and son become world champions, and this is definitely one of them. Nice control. It's cueing beautifully.
So a few more shots off the red and leaving himself that pot as Wayne mentioned, and getting off the yellow, bringing out a bulk, and away he goes.
That looks a little ugly, doesn't it, for the in-off red, in-off yellow next. So he's probably going to take one more, probably going to run through. Oh no, he's doing a screw back. Is he? That's a run through.
He's leaving himself the cross loser again.
He's going to take the long loser here. Cross loser.
Not sure how many hazards he's had, but I'd imagine he'll be getting a warning for 10
It
hazards.
looks
very
like
soon.
7.
7, yeah. Oh yeah, of course, yeah, it's 21, yeah. So 21 break is on at the moment, and
He's trying to get this over onto the left middle pocket, I'd say, for his next shot. No, he's played it soft. Played for the pink spot. Or for the pyramid spot, as some would prefer to call it. The yellow's in the way, isn't it?
yeah,
Yes.
just the awkward queuing spot for him there, and he'll be pleased to see when that yellow comes out of bulk, and just can't seem to get the red back far enough for him.
Just everything's in that awkward spot.
But he's been playing this in off red off 2 cushions by the pyramid spot, and it's a bit of a safer way of playing it, really, rather than bring it all the way
He's been
around.
playing soft though, hasn't
Yeah,
he? Yeah, there he goes again. He's playing for the pyramid spot again.
not risking bringing it round off 3 cushions, the red, but
Now, that's 10 hazards. He would have received
Yeah.
a 10 hazard warning
yeah,
there.
30 breaks, so. So obviously 15 hazards is his limit, and before he has to play a cannon, so we a bit more pace on the red this time.
Now he's going around now for where he needs to finish, but it would be a lot easier if the red did finish on the other side of the table.
Probably stun this to the other side of the table, like you say, and leave himself in off yellow as his sort of preference. But he'll probably have some sort of shot off the red as well if he didn't fall exactly as
Would
he wants. But
Oh yeah, it looks like that's what he's doing, yeah. Bit of risk factor here.
oh, and yeah, he's
Oh, beautifully played.
yeah, briefly. So got the in off yellow that he was after, and
Sure. Now that's 11 hazards. That's 12 hazards at present. So it's be 13 hazards, and then you should develop the cannon within the next 2 shots. He's got the enough yellow to develop for the drop cannon by the looks of it, Chris.
yeah, he's just yeah. If it went any further, he would have may have had to have played a long loser there. But although he's saying, looked like is he looking at the in off in the middle? He looked like he put it in position for a long loser there, but I think he can get this with a bit of run inside. He's just debating that in his mind at the moment.
It's hard to see the
He may
angle
have to
from
use the
here.
whole of the D, and probably ask the ref to make sure he's inside the D. He's just making sure it's right on the spot. And Kim Ivert's done a great job refereeing this final, and she's just confirmed that the cue ball is in the D correctly. You're allowed to ask the referee that, and making use of all the spaces in the D, and just snuck in the middle there. But normally when you play the
Just
shots
sneaked
way,
in.
the object ball normally finishes short, doesn't it? When you try
Yeah.
and play it with loads of
Yeah.
side like that, and
He
that's
did,
what's happened.
And by the way, he's on 13 hazards. I think.
Yeah, he'll have to leave this drop cannon
is that
or a
40
cannon
now?
of some sort very shortly, I think. But
And it's, yeah.
yeah.
So that's 15 hazards, and he's now got to play. He definitely cannot score
Yeah.
off the yellow. He's got to make contact with the red. The yellow, his white must touch the yellow and the red.
It's an unusual situation because normally that would be a perfect scenario: red on a spot, yellow in the middle of the table. But he can't play there enough. He's got to play a cannon here to keep the break going. And as you can see, it's a really thin cannon that he's got on, and that's the only shot he's got really if he wants to carry on scoring.
Does he run through? Does he use 2 cushions, or does he skinny the yellow? Looks like
Either
he's
way,
gonna
I think
skinny the
position's
yellow,
going to
yeah.
be hard to control here. The position of the balls after the shot. We just
He's run through it.
well,
Well
that's
played.
excellent. Yeah, so he played that
Yeah,
well.
take a bow, Sourav. That was beautifully played.
And like I said, I thought he may have played the thin cannon there, but he played the thick run through, and probably the better shot actually when you.
Well, he's got to make the shot
Yeah,
too.
yeah.
Yes. Oh, it is ugly, isn't it? Looking from here now, with this particular camera. Yeah. He's got to push right through this. No, isn't he? He's playing beautifully, isn't he?
Yeah, really cued
That's
down
a
on that.
lovely
Got loads
shot.
of
Yeah.
right hand side on that, and
Yeah.
cueing down as well. Give that extra widening of the cue ball. And
For all you viewers watching that, that was not an easy shot. So it looks like he's going to develop 2 red pots, go up to the middle spot, and then develop the cannon, the in-off yellow from there. For the, yeah, that's, yeah. Well, clearly he's going to screw back here for the right-hand middle pocket area. Oh, no, he's not, he's playing side. Playing, yeah.
yeah, leaving himself short there on the middle pocket pot so he can send the white ball down into bulk and get the right angle for an off yellow next shot after this pot.
Yeah, well played. Got choice of 2 here, the in-off red or in-off yellow. I would suggest that, yeah, the yellow now comes out of balk and it's going to be in play. Well played. Well played, Sourav.
Oh no. Did all the hard work there, I think, and just the in-off cost in there. Like I said, it was a nice sequence to get that position, but unfortunately for him, he broke down to on 59, but he's just gone just over 300 in front now, and around about half an hour left of this session, so Peter really wants to try and stamp his authority at the end of this, or at least get some grip on this session, really, and I think he's probably, it's looking like he's going to be behind going into the last session, I think, Wayne.
Yeah,
Unless he can get a big break at the end here, but...
For you people that are following Peter Gilchrist, that's the first real chance he's had to try and make a break.
Yeah.
To get back into it.
Yeah, he's been frozen out for a lot of this
Very
session, hasn't he?
nice,
And
yeah.
just balls haven't been going for him at all. And
All you people watching this, look at the cueing action of this gentleman. Beautiful cueist. They both are. They cue straight and they cue very well. You know, now he's developed the yellow for either, it looks like the drop cannon, but it may be the in-off. Again, we're on an awkward angle here. It's not. Yeah, I fancy Peter getting a break here, Chris.
yeah, well, you can be pretty certain he's going to take every shot 100% and not take anything for granted at all. And we saw yesterday in his semi-final how he was really making sure of every shot and sort of maybe slowing down a fraction just to make sure he didn't make any mistakes at all. And
Now this is that run of the table I talk about. That the red just may or may not go on to that spot. Onto the bottom spot. Oh, he's going to move it. Yeah. I would say it definitely doesn't go on now. He'd be playing for the pyramid spot here, wouldn't he?
well, it looks like he's pretty
must go.
tight though. I think it's difficult to tell from the camera
must
here,
go.
but
Yeah. If it goes, that's wonderful play. Oh,
Yeah.
take a bow, that's magnificent. Yeah, I definitely think he's going to get a decent break here, Chris.
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't, especially when he's still working the balls, isn't he, to exactly where he wants them. But he not in any problem at the moment. He's taking.
He just developed the red over to the left-hand pocket here, bottom pocket.
So a 6 shot there, and that leaves himself the in off white there from the D, and I think he'll be setting up a drop cannon very shortly, and that could lead to top of the table play.
Sure.
Floating white, as he normally prefers, over the post was not.
Look at the queuing action here, beautiful and straight. Yeah. And there's your drop cannon. Looks a little wide.
Yeah, he's just using the whole of the D there again, just cue ball right on the edge of the D, just probably needs to drag this with run inside, left-hand side. And played that really nicely.
Yeah,
good contact on the red.
Absolutely beautiful.
And he's almost, well, he's pretty much in perfect position now, I think.
With a half an hour to go. Fantastic. Fantastic. Of course, when you're watching the great players play, the game looks so easy, but for all you viewers, it is not this easy.
No, and the atmosphere in the room is electric. Really, you can really feel the atmosphere. It's good crowd, good turnout of spectators, and you can hear a pin drop. And
they're an appreciative crowd as well.
Yeah, very knowledgeable about the game. Yeah.
It has the silence of a cathedral at present. There's probably about 250 people just sitting around there watching this in seats, and there's people standing as well. And there's hardly any standing room in there at all, Chris. I went in there to watch myself and I had trouble finding a seat.
And we've got quite a lot watching on the live streaming as well, so thanks to everyone who's tuned into the live stream, and I hope you're enjoying it, and drop us some comments on the YouTube feed to let us know where you're watching, and I'm sure there'll be people from the UK watching this as well, and it's early in the morning in the UK, but so welcome to everyone watching on the streaming, and like I say, it's a great atmosphere this, and looking like a great final so far. And
I know there's a bundle of people from New Zealand watching this. We're very keen on the game over there. But look at this, he's developing this beautiful touch.
Nice picture there of the cannon underneath the white, pushing the white back towards the spot. Just lifts himself a little bit straight on the red, I think.
Yeah. Or is he going to bring this right back? You know, beautifully done.
Nice long cue action there. Good example, as you were saying, Wayne. Just really long flow in action on that shot, just to get the action on the cue ball there.
Honestly, world, this is not as easy as it looks. Anytime you like, have a crack at this game. And of course, Kim's doing a lovely job refereeing too, Chris, isn't she? This is her first billiard final ever, isn't it?
Yeah,
Wonderful.
First world final, I believe, and doing an excellent job refereeing. I've been lucky enough myself to referee a World Championship final, and it's sort of a great honour to referee a World Final, and
it is.
She's doing a fantastic job here, and very well respected referee amongst all the players.
Well, with a half an hour to go, he could definitely score 400.
Yeah, I was thinking at one point, like you say, that I suggested Sourav may have been enjoying a lead going into the last session, but I'm not so sure now the way this has turned. I mean, it's gone back and forward the lead so many times that it's really
wonderful last hour, won't it?
Yeah.
For those just have joined us, it's a 5-hour final, and this is the second 2-hour run.
So that's the bulk line crossing coming up. I think he would have preferred to play the bulk cushion, side cushion, but he worked out fine though, like you say. And
again, look at the cueing action. Look at the left hand on the tail. It's spread right out. Yeah. Great control.
Peter had a bit of an unfortunate shot earlier on when he tried to cross the bulk line. I don't know if you saw it, Wayne, with the he was left quite straight on the red, and he hit the red with lots of pace, popped the red across the bulk line, but the red actually bounced out the back of the pocket. That was unfortunate for him. That was in the first session, I think that was. But
did it go in and out?
I think it must have. Yeah, I think it hit the back of the pocket and actually came right back on the table. It's unfortunate for him there. He was left very straight on the red, but lots have happened since then, and he's on another 100 break here.
But see, that's another thing about our sport world. If this had been a rugby league game or a rugby game, they'd have thrown their lollies out of the window. But he took it on the chin. He wasn't happy, but he just took it on the chin, went and sat down, and waited his turn again. This is what likely now, Chris. Can he get the work to get around?
Yeah, he looks pretty straight again. Will we see a strew back across the table possibly? I mean,
could do.
Yeah,
He's definitely got a power. But once again, he may have lost confidence in really hitting them hard. No, he's going to run through it to try and work it. Yeah. He just runs through cannon here. Now, all you people watching this, look at this. Watch how he manoeuvres the balls and gets them back into position. Now look at that. Look at that.
Yeah.
Can anyone clone this guy? It's a wonderful touch, wonderful shot.
Great shot at this stage of the final as well. That was fantastic there.
Don't you go in. See that? The balls are listening to me. Did you see that, Chris? Did you see that?
That's pretty impressive, Wayne, I must say.
It's a bit like my wife. She doesn't listen to me, so maybe I've got to try and get her to learn this one. This is lovely. For anyone watching, all we can do is sit and admire this. Just sit, admire and enjoy. He'll obviously play the yellow to go high above the white.
So just while Peter's getting in his stride here, there's going to be another change in the commentary. So Peter Tangon and David Collins coming on shortly. So thanks, Wayne, for your comments there. And we look forward to going in and watching the rest of this session in the match room. So keep watching, and we'll hand you over now to Peter and David.
Yep. Good luck, everybody.
Good afternoon, viewers. Peter Tankard back with Dave Collins. Thank you, Chris Coombe and Wayne Carey from New Zealand for commentary up to date. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you, Peter. Yes, things are starting to get exciting here.
Have you seen a pattern in the match? Have you seen a pattern in the match so far, Dave?
Well, not necessarily, Peter. It's been mainly Sourav has been on top, and Peter's had to catch up, and he gets away again and catches up again. And
I think it'd be fair to say that Sourav's had the run of the balls. Every time Peter's come to the table, he's looked at difficult positions, and I think Sourav's come to the table when Peter missed and looking at a red over the pot, red over the bag, and a half ball in off.
Yes,
So,
well, yes, that can happen. And
that can happen, and it's no reflection on the fact that Sourav's not playing well. He is playing well, but it's been helped by some good starts and not having to expend too much energy to get them into position to start with.
Yes, well, the run of the
Look
ball.
at the reach on this guy. Have a look at the reach. Look at where his arm is. Look at where his arm is holding that rest. Now, you or I could not, well, virtually nobody else could produce a shot like this.
Well,
You've got to be
there's
6'6".
Not too many that are, yeah, well, he's at least 6'6", isn't he?
Yeah.
He just looks about 6'10" when you stand
He
next
does,
to him.
yeah.
But, Peter's just got a bit of noise in the background here, but Peter seems to thrive on getting in and making shots, and
Yep.
and I think he's been able to do that so far and keep himself in the match.
Yep. But it's been a battle, hasn't it? I mean, he draws level. He drew level at 600. It was they were dead level at 600. Then Sourav lit out again. So it's been lead catch up the whole way. And it looks like we're setting ourselves up for a good final hour. There's 19 minutes left in this session, and as at the end of the last session, Gilchrist was playing catch up. So
yes, it's got the makings of a classic finish, this one, and I think they'd both love to win as much as each other, as
Sure.
Sourav's defending champion, and
yeah,
it was somewhat of a little surprise last year that he won it, but he certainly stamped himself now as
the real deal.
the real deal, obviously making the final again. So
Yep.
and Peter hasn't won it for a few years.
Yes,
And,
although being world number one, I mean, it's a
yes,
promoter's dream, isn't it? You've
it's
got the
brilliant.
the defending champion versus the current world number one ranked player. It's, as promoters, we couldn't have asked for better than this.
Yes, for sure, Peter, and you can guarantee there wasn't going to be two mugs in the final anyway, even if that didn't
That's
happen.
right.
So
That's right. Whoever was in the final had to beat these two. So, classic match last night between Peter Gilchrist and David Corsier.
yes, and that was a great win by Peter, as David has had the better of Peter over the last few occasions, and Peter was able to get the monkey off his back.
Yeah, I think there was a lot more determination in Peter than I've seen before in the group stages. He pounded his opponents. There was no letting up. He wanted to get a big point score to be well seeded into the knockout phase, and did that.
Yes, he's a relentless scoring machine, Peter, when he gets puts his mind to it, and he's certainly got to put his mind to this situation, as any slip-ups could well end his chances of winning his fourth world title.
David, you've won a lot of championship matches over long distances. Do you have to manage your energy levels through the match? Are there times when you go, okay, don't get too intense now, I need to save my intensity, or are you full tilt all the way?
Well, it's funny, when I'm off the table, I'm surprised that a lot of players, top players, actually stare at the table and watch, and to me they're using extra energy by watching their opponent making breaks and hoping they break down. They're actually playing two games while they're off the table. So I think it'd be a good idea if somehow they could sort of take their eye off the ball, so to speak, and try and rest your eyes, because you're looking at the table, and then you go to the table, you want to score. So I still do. I like to go and even have a walk around, but when you're in an area like this, it's hard to walk around. So
Yes.
But just to concentrate on looking at the table, basically non-stop, whether you're on or off it, it's very tiring,
Yes.
especially over a long match, you know.
So what do you think about or meditate on while your opponent's at the table?
all you can think about is what you've got to do, and positive thoughts and things like that, because you can't stop what he's doing. And what happens, as far as I'm concerned, is when you're watching your opponent, you start hoping he gets out of position, and you could even using body language to try and move the ball a bit further on, where it makes it harder for him.
Yes.
And so you're getting involved in their game when you, I think, you want to conserve energy.
Yes. So Peter's crossed the balk line there, but you couldn't say it's a pretty result. Probably take a simple cannon here rather than risk anything too fancy.
Yeah, that's a pretty good shot by Peter. He'll just drop this in and play a drop cannon next shot.
Will it reach? Will it reach? Oh, the last fibre on the cloth, that one.
And that's how easy you can come unstuck. You've got a fairly simple shot for Peter.
Yeah, but he's trying to be extra delicate to leave optimal drop cannon position.
That's right. He didn't want to hit it much harder, because then he's got the drop cannons a bit too wide. So
yes.
It looked easy, but it was delicate in another way.
He wanted to be on that side of the white ball. That's glorious. I wonder if we might see a run of close cannons here, or he can play them.
We'll definitely see a few.
He can play them. This is, for those of you who haven't seen it, this is nursery cannons. And look at the delicacy. His head's up above the cue. He's not chin on the cue. He's standing above the balls to get a perspective.
Yes.
And he's moving his front and back hand at the same time. So he's rolling his wrist to create other delicate movements in the balls. Now he's broken it back down into top. The modern players don't like running too many. They're just really looking for an opportunity to push white behind the spot and red over a bag.
Yes, and as he was doing those nursery cannons, I mean, that's what the great Walter Lindrum used to be able to do, and take them in around the table when there was no limit.
Well, that's right.
Quite remarkable.
Except it's fascinating. It's a different philosophy. Walter, here we saw nursery cannons broken down into top of the table. With Walter, you used to see top of the table broken down into nursery cannons.
Yes. Yeah. Well, he basically did what he wanted to do, didn't he?
Yes.
Peter,
yeah, pretty much.
I'll play some open billiards, I'll play some top of the table, and I'll play some nurseries.
Yeah, that's right.
Refreshing
that's
himself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. And I think that's important. But there's no doubt that his most powerful scoring method, especially in terms of time, was nursery cannons. He holds, I think, every speed record in the game for speed of breaks. His fastest century was 29 seconds. And if you say that's 50 shots in 29 seconds, that's a lot of shots.
It's a lot of shots, and it's great touch, and you definitely have to know what you're doing to do it that fast.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
And you've got to have, I would suggest, a compliant referee. It's almost impossible. Well, it's almost impossible to tell at that speed. I mean, you're talking about a couple of shots per second. Like every half a second, there's a shot being generated, or close to. Have the ball stopped? Have they? Hard to say. So delicate, beautiful shot.
Now, if ever Peter would want to make a 500 or 600 break, it'd be around about now in the final of the world title, when you're
this is exactly the same
behind.
Exactly the same pattern as the end of the first session. Peter battling to get back on level terms. 2:45 break now. Got them tight at top. So let's see what he can do. He needs to muster all his powers of concentration in the next 12 minutes.
Yes.
And they are substantial.
Yes, it'd be certainly nice to come back for the last hour, have a small break and come back for the last hour and still be at the table and stamp your authority on the game there. So,
yeah, there's an hour and a half break.
Oh, an hour and a
during
half
that
break.
time,
okay, that's a pretty good break.
And during that time, we'll be playing an entertaining Scotch doubles game to keep the crowd interested.
Oh, keep the crowd interested.
Not involving Peter or Sourav, but...
Well, I'm sure you'll see a variety of shots there, Peter.
Well, you'll see some pretty horrible ones, I imagine,
exactly.
Dave. So, Scotch doubles billiards is always entertaining, especially if you put a great player who has precise position with an ordinary player who's very loose position, and you allow them to complain about each other.
Yes. Well, I've got to say the graphics here is fantastic. Thanks to Dan Lynch and Cue Ball
Yes.
TV. You can see the spin of the ball up close. You can see the finger marks on the table even, and full credit to Dan.
Yeah, unquestionably the best coverage we've had in billiards
For sure.
ever. There was some very good coverage out of Qatar at the IBSF in 2015. This is better, I believe. And I'm not just saying that because Dan's sitting next to me. Stunning off, keep control, bring it up for a drop cannon.
It was like he didn't hit the centre jaw there, just missed the centre jaw, and once they hit the jaws, anything can happen.
Yep.
If the balls don't want to be kind to you, they won't be.
Sourav shakes the head in the background. I was talking to him, he was telling me that his dad Manoj is a hard taskmaster.
Yes.
6 to 8 hours of practice every day. They had a religious festival on in the town.
Okay.
Sourav was not allowed to go. Normally there's dancing and feasting, and not allowed to attend. He had to put in the table time. So if discipline counts, and it does, then Sourav is well armed.
Well, he's put in the hard yards, and that's why he's such a hard player to beat.
Yep. And he's got a certain carriage about him now that he didn't have 2 years ago. The way he carries himself, the way he presents, he looks like the goods.
Yes, well, he's got the record on the board now, and he's got that aura about him, and not only his standards improve, he expects to win it most of the time.
And he's developing a fear factor. Players are
absolutely
are suddenly concerned about him on their side of the draw. That probably wasn't the case 2 years ago, but the mental attitude creates the player.
Yes, well, definitely he's one of the players to beat. Will be for the next 10 years at least, I'd say.
Yes.
Having said that, Peter's
the
left
established
himself
star,
a little bit
isn't he?
awkward there. Caught the white a little bit too thin, which pushed it over too far to the side of the table.
What are his choices, David?
Well, he's got he's playing a long Jenny.
Yep.
Which is a little bit more difficult when the ball's out from the rail, because you're coming in at a sharper angle. So you've got to be pretty precise on this. And you'll see the spin on the yellow ball here, trying to spin it in the pocket. But also played it in a way that he left himself and then off as well. It's one thing to get the shot, but to play position off difficult shots
usually
too.
It ends up, not usually, but often it ends up frozen on the opposite rail, doesn't it?
That's right. Because a lot of players are that hell-bent on making the shot that they forget about.
Yes.
It's hard enough in making the shot, let alone make position off a difficult shot. Right.
Tough shot.
But you handle it very well, Peter. Seems to be relishing the situation at the moment. He's entitled to be nervous, playing for his 4th world title, especially after last year that Sourav beat him.
Yes.
So,
I think this is the first time for quite some time that we've had both Pankaj and Mike Russell and the other superstars in one place at one time. So this is perhaps in some ways a more legitimate title than has been on offer in several years.
Oh, for sure. I don't know. Well, I've never seen a better
it's
field
toughest
ever.
field.
So,
and I think to be the king, you have to kill the king, and all the kings are here. So whoever wins this one, it's been a fair fight from start to finish.
Well, to be honest, there was talk during the week that there was 6 legitimate chances to win this, and
yes,
I tend to agree on that.
Did that include you, Dave?
I said 6,
in
not
your
7,
dreams.
Peter.
Right.
Yeah.
And what was the talk? Who were your 6? I think I could probably name
it wasn't
them.
just me, it was others talking. Well, you got these 2, Dave Corsia, Pankaj Javandi, Matthew Bolton, and there's another one there somewhere. Mike Russell, of course.
Mike Russell, of
the
course.
great Mike Russell. So I think those guys all could have won this tournament without any further surprise.
295, he's faced with a balk-line crossing, and he's not in pretty shape for that, so he will try and pot this, stay low, and create an angle that he can come around with. So he's managed to do that.
Well, this is absolutely critical now. So
yes.
He's got to, the white has, his yellow ball has to cross the balk line, and not only that, he wants to be able to retain position as well.
So he'll probably pull up short just past the mid pockets, you think? Because he's got to still thin. This one's still thin. If he's playing the cannon, which is the safest option, he might need some check on this. Successfully negotiated.
This has been a terrific break under pressure.
Absolutely. And have a look at the scoreboard, 917, 916. This shot to draw level. That didn't work out. He's got the score. He's now in the lead for I think only the second time in the match. He led briefly as they passed 600. He leads again as they passed 900. 4 minutes left on the clock. We have a 1 hour final on our hands. At the start of the next session. If you are not all back here in an hour and a half's time, you are going to miss the shootout of the century in billiards. Kim Ivette's been faultless in the refereeing department. Sourav did ask her to speed up the ball a little bit. She just acknowledges to Peter that he's entitled to ask if the ball is in balk. Is in the D correctly spotted. She nods her assent to say yes it is.
Nice weighter shot from Peter there.
Does he move the white here, Dave?
I wouldn't think so. I think it's too risky moving the white as well, playing a 5 shot. You're more or less hoping for position. There's no way he'll do that. There we go. Now he's...
That slipped by a little, doesn't it? And that ball's on the cushion.
Yes,
so
he's hit that way too hard.
Yes.
Now he's faced with a
double kiss cannon.
I don't think the double kiss cannon's on even because, well, it's on, but I don't think he'd play it. I think he's forced to play this firm really because he doesn't want to double kiss it because it'll destroy the shot completely. Might even play it hard. Yeah, there you go.
Did anyway.
Probably even should have played it harder than that, I think. In fact, it's just a careless shot.
Why harder than that?
Because straight past the double kiss. And yeah, he just said he hit it. Because...
Watch out, my opponent's in Sydney. I've just had a personal tip from David Collins.
Yeah, the ball's way too close to the cushion to... well, I thought he played a little bit too soft, even that.
Yeah.
But if he had hit it thinner, he probably would have got it. But as I said, it was just a careless shot from Peter, and he'd be disappointed with that because he still had reasonable control.
So what was been off the table a little while.
The pot that he should have got. So
again, hasn't left anything.
The pressure is building here. Peter's
2 minutes left in this session. Peter narrowly in front by 9 points. It's hard to believe that they've been...
He might lose the white ball here, but he's just...
yeah.
But he needs to play at a certain pace to make the shot, so... I know.
Checked up.
Yeah.
When you say lose the white ball, you meant in balk.
In the centre.
You meant in balk.
I meant in balk, but I didn't judge the angle.
No, the cushion's checked up quite dramatically there.
Yes, so it'll be... I would say... He wouldn't want to miss his shot and leave Sourav with 2 balls on the table when he can only score off 1. So he'll be keen to put the red ball behind the balk line as soon as possible. Well, he tried to do it there, but it hit the jaw. but he won't be trying to pot this. He'll be getting the white ball and the red ball in behind the line here,
Yes.
and leave Sourav with double balked.
So he wouldn't be tempted to take a few hazards and
No,
just keep the
not at
score.
all.
There's a minute left.
No hazards here. Screw
Yep.
the red back behind the line with the yellow. And
It's probably gone too far to make it a little harder than it needed to be.
it's not bad. It's pretty good. You can go on off that.
Getting off it. Just
So-
not an awful lot of choices on where he's going to put it. Inch or two shorter than that might have been better. Having said
So-
that, the ball's travelled 24 feet. And here we are complaining about an inch or two.
Well, all I can say, Peter, is we're in for one hell of a last session.
Yes.
That's a great shot from Sourav,
Yes.
defensive shot,
Yes.
hitting it above the line and putting it in behind the line.
Behind the line and on the cushion, just to
Yes.
compound the misery. And in fact, it might even be hampering Peter's queuing a little.
Yeah, it was a very good shot.
Yeah.
I think the buzzer's going to go for the end of the session very soon.
Peter wants to be in play. So well done. He missed the other ball. But it's gone ugly. Short Jenny position available. Which is a spinning in off into the middle pocket.
Yeah, he got that. He's got.
And that should push the
I'm
ball
not sure
out.
he might be playing a screw cannon, I think.
Really. How right you are.
Yes.
Needed a bit more of the white.
Now, Peter's got an in off the white ball here. This is a shot that's played where
Risky.
a lot of right hand screw on the ball.
Doesn't like
He
it.
doesn't fancy it, but he's got the in off
Gets
the
the
red
nap.
as so another shot. So
Made much more difficult because he was playing against the nap with that screw cannon. Harder to predict. And the ball runs away from the pocket there.
yeah, Peter's dad's down with him. Might have been mentioned earlier.
Frank, great bloke.
Yeah, Frank, and been talking to Frank, and he's thoroughly enjoying watching Peter playing over here in Australia in the World Final.
Yeah, Peter's mother passed away a few years ago.
That's the end of the session.
We will see you again in 1.5 hours.
Half hours.
In the meantime, I think we're screening some Scotch
In a very
doubles.
short time.
And if not, we have...
Well, I don't know if I'll be watching the Scotch doubles, but I'll be definitely back in an hour and a half, Peter, and watch the rest of this enthralling contest.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Dan.
We've had an enthralling second session. Everything is set up for the most magnificent last hour of billiards you could imagine, isn't it? So what we'll do now is we'll go from the sublime to the ridiculous, and we'll get to watch Scotch doubles. The whole principle of Scotch doubles is they take alternate shots. So where one particular player would say, I'd like you to go in off and put the ball over there, the other player will say, I don't want it over there. So there could be a domestic between any of these pairs as we go through the Scotch doubles. Okay, all right. So in terms of giving you some explanation of why we're doing the Scotch doubles, I'd like to ask Tammy Lindrum to come down here into the area and speak to you about the idea that she's had for the Lindrum legacy.
Thank you very much. Obviously, I'm blessed to have come from an amazing family with 4 generations of champions, and when we lost one of them, my Auntie Dolly, earlier this year, I made a promise to her that I would do something to always keep the name alive. So this is the first year that we will be donating a grant which will be decided by the Scotch doubles tonight, and it's funds that will go back into really raising the profile of the sport in Australia, or helping do that. So really proud, and next year we'll be doing something else as well. So this is just the start, and I hope you enjoy, and it'll be great to see where they decide that the funds end up. So
thank you very much. So situation is that Tammy has promised a sum of money to the ABSC each year, and it's to be used for the benefit of the billiards. And so in terms of tonight's game, there'll be two pairings playing against each other, and whoever finishes up winning at the end in terms of playing for an hour and having the highest score will get to say where they want the $1,000 to be distributed. So they might say juniors, they might say a trophy, they might say, you know, to send somebody to Myanmar, they might choose anything, all right? But what we'll do is we'll let them play, knowing that there's a lot on the line, because at the end they don't get any money at all, but they get to say where the money goes. Okay, so we'll look forward to having that. And for the moment, I'd like to introduce the players in the Scotch doubles so that you can have an understanding of the excellence that you're about to view. So the first pairing is made up of our current World Women's Billiards Champion Anna Lynch, and from England, Rob Hall. And they are against a formidable combination. These people have been in secret training for a number of months, knowing that this event was forthcoming. From South Australia, Judy Dangerfield, and from Victoria, Steve Benson. Thanks, Judy. I don't know where you're going to put your case. Where's your teammate?
I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Unbelievable. It's part of the price you pay for being Maltese. You get lost easily. Unbelievable. It won't be me, I can assure you of that. Dennis, where's your cue? Friends, yes. Could you be somewhere close to that scoreboard? Because I need to have somewhere that's keeping track of the scores, unless you want to write. I'll just put it in my head. No, I shall provide you with a blank sheet of paper. There you are. It's an interesting thing that this blank sheet of paper greatly resembles the inside of Grad's head. Grad. There you go. Thank you. I'll give you a writing implement. You need to write the names of the two teams, and we're going to play for an hour, and you have to keep count of the score.
I'll put it back to 6:30 so I can watch it. I'll just take it over.
No, I would not trust this man to do the scoreboard. So, Rob, you understand the conditions that you get no money at the end. It's only glory. It's $1,000 to be distributed for the furtherance of billiards. Right? No worries.
Just draw a big spot on it.
No, you're doing quite well.
Do you want a pen, Paul? Just want a pencil, put an X.
Yeah, put an X so we know where it is.
X and a Y.
You heard about the two fellas that went out in a boat, and it was like the Sea of Galilee all over again. You know, they caught an enormous number of fish. So they dragged them all into the boat. And then after they had finished their fishing expedition, they were heading back to town. One turned to his mate and he said, I hope you've memorised where that spot is, because next time we'll go back and we'll catch that many fish again. And he said, no worries, I know exactly where it is. I put an X on the side of the boat. No, but we will finish quite well past. We need to use a set of vision balls, so we either use those or you go out to the room and get mine.
Put our mail back. Yeah, 6:30. Oh, well done, good on you. Meant to be 6:30. I said 6:30. So we want a little bit of it.
Yes, hold that up. So we know what the score is. All right. So, He's gone to get some water. What was he doing for the 20 minutes while we were waiting for him to turn up? Unbelievable. You just can't get good help, isn't that so, Lyndon? All right, so our situation is we need to get people to string for break, so we're going to be ready to start. We have the timer set, and when we finish, then Praveen and Kim will be able to make sure that the table's brushed and pads and get them all set up for the last session. Okay? All right. Toby Collins, what did you do with Steve Heston? Thanks, Dan. All right. Could I have the two team members here, please? Could I have the other two team members here, please? Right. Who is the captain of your team, Judy?
Steve.
Oh, this was your chance. He wasn't in the room yet. Okay. Steve is the captain here. Rob, who's the captain of your team? Anna. Okay. Could I have Anna and Steve at the table to string for break, please? And if you touch the side cushion, you're disqualified. Oh no, he's gone into the other half of the table. Oh, that's an automatic disqualification, but nothing on the scoreboard. Bad luck. What would you like to do, Anna, as captain of your team?
I'll go white and
Okay, Rob, your team is the white, and you will be breaking. Now, who will follow Rob in your team? Oh, did you shake hands? Oh, not on speaking terms. Wow. Who will follow Rob? We need to make sure the order is correct. Graham, can you keep an eye on the order? Have you written it down? Oh, look, in a minute. No, it's alternate shots. Oh, yes, that's right. Yeah. All right, doesn't matter. Okay. So you're the first in your team, and who's the first in your team? Okay, fine. All right. Best of luck to everybody. When you're ready, thanks, Rob. 1 hour. Oh, did you hear that? The teammate went, yes! You did exactly what the captain told you to do. That's good. Oh. Yay! Drop. Thank you. 3.
Similar. Yeah. She only had one shot. Yes, it's the same.
Thanks, Rob. 5.
Only instead of billiards, it's where they play snooker.
Thank you. All 7. Is it being used for anything important? Nine. $11.
Jim Long.
Don't look at her in that tone of voice. Easy, Rob.
Just an expression.
Captain Smoke. 13.
Welcome everybody to a Scotch doubles session in the interval of the Gilchrist and Kothari final. We have an alternate shot between Rob Hall and Anna Lynch on one team, and Steve Mifsud and Judy Dangerfield on the other team. Scotch doubles in billiards can be thought of as similar to alternate shot in match play golf, in that the two members of one team alternate shooting.
To the Hall Lynch team.
And I have just now been joined by Gary Norman, and the two of us will share a commentary of this.
Afternoon, Kevin.
Good afternoon, Gary.
Just before we get started on commentating what hopefully is going to be an interesting and fun-packed Scotch doubles, so I'd make a mention about the quality of the final and the complexities of what's left for the last hour.
It is stunning, actually, watching Gilchrist and Kothari play. The mental toughness of the two of them to be able to focus when they come to the table and create shots out of virtually nothing when they start. I'm always dumbfounded at how they're able to do that.
Indeed.
Peter came to the table for his last turn, 300 points behind, knowing that he needed to create something before the interval. And the table wasn't exactly set up brilliantly for him when he came, but he manufactured an opening shot and took it from there to have a break of 300 and get himself right back into the match.
Indeed, and it's fantastically poised now for what hopefully is going to be an incredible final hour when they resume.
Yeah, it's like a best of 7 match coming down to the final.
The final frame almost, yeah. Anyway, here, back to business. Little bit of fun here between Anna Lynch, who's now the new World Ladies Billiards Champion, playing with Rob Hall from England, current English Amateur Champion, playing against Steve Mifsud, who recently regained his professional tour card for the main circuit of the snooker.
Great.
And he's had a couple of qualifiers already back in England at Barnsley, so he's doing a little bit of travelling again now, Steve, in pursuit of being able to move himself up the rankings.
Great.
And also Judy Dangerfield, who was the runner-up to Anna in the ladies' final, which was concluded yesterday, I think, wasn't it?
It was, yes, yesterday afternoon. So it is these two ladies can really play billiards. They really know their way around a table. And whereas I'm not sure if the spectators to this match can hear what's going on in the microphone at the table, but whereas in a regular billiards match, the players don't do a lot of talking to each other, these players have been encouraged to chat a little bit. Yes,
engage in
trash
banter,
talk each other, as they would say.
There doesn't seem to be an awful lot of that going on at the moment, though, I'm afraid. But,
I actually wish we had we could hear at the microphone down there.
I think Rob needs another few drinks inside him yet before he.
Yes, these players. I'm sure we all get used to the style that we individually play, and so we can sort of predict the next shot. But I'm sure it's a real jolt.
That's going to be
when
quite
you don't
difficult
get to
here,
play the next. When you don't get to play the next shot. You have no idea what your partner is going to create for you.
Well, it's safe to say here, that's unfortunate.
Yes.
I think Anna may well, she's just having a word with Rob saying, why have you covered the spot for me? But I think
exactly, yeah.
Red into the middle.
Yeah.
Leaving the...
And set him up for the drop cannon.
Set him up for the drop cannon to move the yellow off the spot. Yeah.
Wonderful potter of the ball, these two ladies. Uh-oh.
Well, what can I say?
Yes.
Mr. Hall That's a bit of a shocker there.
As you suggest, Gary, probably not enough
Not enough
lubricant in that
alcohol.
cueing hand.
Not enough alcohol.
Beautifully set up, Jimmy.
And that's in perfect position for his partner.
And we've got Paul Cosgrave, I see, as the stand-in referee for this particular game. Paul is head referee here this week.
And Paul will make sure that there's no hanky-panky going on down
absolutely. Stickler for detail is Paul.
As Gary, I'm sure you would agree, most English billiards referees are sticklers for detail.
Indeed, but Paul is actually Australian, so so he runs things with regimental precision, generally speaking. Does Paul?
Okay, there's a nice little touch shot.
Now,
let's see if Judy
will Judy, I think Rob's just telling her, or rather Steve's just telling her to play white first here onto the red.
Just a gentle brush cannon. Oh, yeah, okay, that'll work.
Yeah, it's left Steve with the in off.
Yeah. Get that into drop cannon position.
Well, he'll
for
probably
Judy.
try and push the red up so that Judy can go for red in the middle, I think.
Okay, yeah.
Make it a little bit easier for you,
Yes.
you know. And now he'll be asking her to pot the red possibly, or no, he's going to leave her to go to play the in off.
I didn't have a chance to watch the ladies' matches very much, but what little I did watch, it seems to me that Judy is an extremely competent potter of the ball and snooker player, but
she is,
perhaps might not have as much experience with billiards.
No, but I think I don't know her game overly well, but I think that she, from what I understand, she's improved significantly over the last year to 18 months.
She has excellent form for sure in terms of taking her stance and lining up for potting. She absolutely, and I've watched her pot enough to know that she's very competent at that.
Yeah.
Now here's an interesting touch shot, a bit of a drag. Oh, nicely done. Nicely done by Anna.
Anna in particular has quite a knack for being able to spot the non-standard billiard shot, I think. Ones that the top players, the men players, would normally take for granted.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Exactly.
And you wouldn't necessarily expect too many players to see, but she sees them instinctively, and I think that's one of her strengths, really. Obviously, Rob's strength is not potting a straight red into the corner.
No.
We just saw that.
Yes. I saw him earlier in the interval, and he was sticking to the coffee before this match, and I'm not sure that was the appropriate strategy. I'm not sure it's serving him well.
I think Anna's other half, Grant, who's standing up behind in the Zebedee polo shirt, is probably winding Rob up as well a little bit at this stage. And why not?
Now, Gary, Anna just won the World Women's Championship, Billiards Championship down here in Melbourne, Australia.
Mm-hmm.
But the other dominant name in ladies billiards is Emma Bonney from the UK.
Yep.
And she isn't here.
No.
It would be a very interesting hypothetical matchup between Emma and Anna. Have they ever played directly against each other?
I think that they will have done. Anna came over to the UK to play maybe about 5 years ago from memory, I believe, and I would imagine that at some stage there that they would have played. I can't recall exactly, but I would imagine that is the case. But it's difficult to compare the two because they haven't played each other that often, and they're at opposite sides of the world, so to speak. It's fair to say that it would have been a better test for everyone if Emma had been able to have made it here, but that was not possible. And at the end of the day, you know, you can only win an event with the people that are placed in front of you.
Yeah, that's exactly true.
You know,
yes.
so can't take anything away. Absolutely not from Anna. She deserves to win. Emma, of course, is a very, very talented cueist. Good snooker player as well, actually. Very good temperament.
Yeah. Now, I've seen her on YouTube, but have never watched her live.
Yeah.
So that's one of the things I want to get done.
Yep.
And if we in Canada, in Winnipeg, are fortunate enough to host the World
In
Championship
2021,
it would be a wonderful thing if we could get these two ladies from
Get them to
opposite
come
ends
over.
of the world
Yeah.
to meet
Yeah.
in Canada.
Yeah. I think a lot of it.
Because clearly they're the world's two best.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Without a
hard
shadow
to
of a
put them
doubt.
into ranking of one or two.
Yeah.
I think you'd have to say that they're right now number one and number A, you know, with no differentiation.
Yeah, it would be unfair at this stage to differentiate.
Yes,
You
yeah.
know, I think that's what I'd say. I think from Emma's perspective, it's about the availability time-wise to be able to participate, to be able to travel such distance, to be able to play. Because
Sure.
obviously, you know, even Canada, a day to get there, day to get back, and then the time in between. You know, it becomes an animal in itself, doesn't it?
it does.
In terms
Yeah,
of the requirement
an
for
entire
leave.
vacation.
And
Anna, we just learned upon getting here, earns her living as a jazz pianist. So I am sure her availability to travel for billiards is heavily dependent upon her schedule as,
exactly
as
right.
a pianist.
Exactly right. Yeah, exactly right.
And I'm sure she can't predict that. There's a nice shot by Steve, a very lovely touch shot.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, there's only, you know, even in the men's game, there's only a few of the top players that don't have a day job, so to speak. You know, and you know that and family life always pretty much has to take precedent, doesn't it?
It does.
You
It
know?
does. You know, unless you do this for a living, and there's probably only less than a dozen people in the world who do that for a living,
exactly,
right?
Exactly.
Perhaps the Indian players and Peter Gilchrist are the ones who do it for a living.
Yeah. Well, I think you could count them on one hand, quite frankly.
Yeah. So
Steve,
Gary and I just yesterday had an opportunity to visit the Walter Lindrum home. We were toured by, or we were shown around by Tammy Lindrum, the great niece of the great Walter, who is in attendance
Horace
today.
Lindrum's youngest daughter,
Yes,
actually.
that's right.
Yeah.
And I believe she's actually sitting beside the table there. If the camera, when our producer comes back, we'll get our producer to scan around and
she will be presenting the ladies world trophy a little bit later on as well.
And for those of us, well, for me from Canada, who have been aware of Walter Lindrum and certainly familiar with, have seen the YouTube videos and are familiar with the legend. It was absolutely fascinating to be there, Gary.
It was
just. We were standing in his practice room where the billiards table that he practiced on is, and all the same decorations are on the wall, and it's just, you can feel the presence of the man inside that room.
And almost the hairs on the back of your neck. I know it's a...
it sounds hokey to say it, but
it's a cliche, but
it's absolutely
it's
true.
real. It's very real, very real. And it was an honour to be able to see that, because it's not open to the public, as we well know, and for Tammy to be able to facilitate that, for us to have a look, was just fantastic.
Yeah, now Tammy lives in the Gold Coast. She doesn't live in
Gold
Melbourne.
Coast, that's right. Yeah.
And I don't know, but it's probably in the range of a 6 to 8 hour drive from, or perhaps more.
More than that, probably
More than
10
that?
or 11, I'd say, in terms of drive, because it's about 2 hours north, I think, of Sydney.
Yeah, so very gracious
Maybe a little
of
bit
Tammy
more.
and her husband to come down here
Yep.
to give a few international players a tour of the home, and then to present the trophy to the World Women's Champion. Extremely gracious of her to do that.
And Team B, 26.
I thought yesterday, I don't know
Could you
about
read
you,
out
Kevin, but I
scores,
thought
please,
one of the most eerie things of all was to actually have Walter Lindrum's passport in my hand.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
to be able to look through it.
Yes.
You know,
It was.
knowing that he would have carried that everywhere with him.
Yeah,
you know, obviously. You
for
know,
sure.
And one of his most
And he was
treasured-
extremely well traveled.
Yeah. Oh, indeed.
And as a Canadian, what was interesting to me is the last
There was
stamp
a
in that
stamp in that
pad was from Montreal. He was in Montreal in 1936. 1936.
36, was it?
Just, I think, a matter of weeks or months before he passed away.
Yeah. And interestingly enough, that book that was showed to us yesterday with the grey cover,
Yes.
that I'm sure you'll remember.
Yeah, I
that
do.
I
Yeah.
said I had never seen before. I inquired with one of the billiards historians, a very well-known billiards historian by the name of Peter Ainsworth, whether he'd seen a copy of it before. And he said that he was aware of it, but hadn't come across one. And he prophesied that maybe Walter was given that or acquired that when he went to Canada, because it was published by Brunswick, so it
really?
may well have been during his tour of 36 that he acquired that book.
Yes, dear.
Now, Brunswick, I'm familiar. I have a Brunswick cue myself.
Two.
And Brunswick tables are very well known
This
in
is the
Canada.
famous cue.
They're a Canadian company, aren't they?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't believe they're in business any longer.
Are they not? Are they not?
I haven't
Okay.
seen a new Brunswick cue or table for ages. In fact, I was considering putting in a billiards table in my basement, and so I was Googling Brunswick to see if I could see their line of tables, and there's really nothing current.
Right, okay. I know they were, from an English perspective, they're more synonymous with 9-ball pool tables. We don't really recognise them as billiard table manufacturers.
No.
Although I am aware, not having been
task.
to Winnipeg this year, but I'm aware that the tables that you use at Winnipeg were actually Brunswick
Yes,
billiard
they are.
tables,
They
weren't
definitely are.
Yeah.
And the people listening from the UK and Australia will have a tough time understanding this, but the Brunswick table is characterized by some kind of synthetic composite plastic leg, and the sides, where you can see on this table that we're looking at, you can see this, that just to the outside of the rail is a wood. Well, on
It's
a Brunswick
melamine,
table,
isn't it? Melamine.
yeah, or
Yeah.
melamine or
Yeah.
plastic or some kind of thing, and the pockets are lined with plastic, not with leather, which is, so they certainly have a different appearance. Now the bed plays, you can put a proper cloth on it, and the bed will play, and the rails will play every bit as nice as these tables. But for somebody who's used to the standard wooden appearance table, they can take a little getting used to.
Indeed. In fact, talking about tables, this table that they're playing on here now is quite unique. I think it's one of only two. And as I understand it, Andrew Ricketts has got what almost is the twin of this particular table, but
was created right after this. They're serial numbered.
Yep.
And Andrew Ricketts has the table that is the serial number immediately
after this one,
Yeah.
but with a different patina of wood, I believe.
Yes.
And also, I don't know if you noticed yesterday, but Walter's table in his house was exactly the same style as this.
Exactly the same style, but a different wood.
Different wood,
Yeah.
but everything else was exactly the same,
was, yeah.
even down to the replacement of what would have been the brass corners.
Yes.
Where they've been replaced with inset corners, pocket corners with the ebony infills. The black ebony that you can see. I mean, a table of this nature over here, I think, significant money in terms of its dollar. You know,
Oh, yes,
over here,
absolutely.
maybe $20,000-$30,000 or so, at least, I would say, for a
Yes.
table of this nature. In fact, you don't see the Alcott table very often at all in the UK. The majority of the tables, this one included, are over 100 years old. A lot of the ones you see, certainly the ones in the main arena here, where the other 7 or 8, they're Tasmanian Blackwood.
Oh, okay. I didn't realise that.
Okay, well, that's
very interesting.
and that's quite. It's unique outside of kind of Australasia, I suppose. Really, you very rarely see it.
Okay. So while we don't have the score inside where our commentary booth is, our producer tells us that the current score is 70 points for Steve and Judy versus 60 for Rob and Anna. So we actually have a very tight match going here.
Okay.
And Judy is actually showing a considerable degree of dexterity here in billiard shot. Just some nice little cannons to keep this top of the table position going.
Of course, this is not too dissimilar to the main event. This is a timed match we have here. Nice shot again from Judy.
Excellent shot, excellent positional play.
18.
They seem to be gelling quite well as a team, these two.
20.
Now the trick in this shot is to
not
avoid,
to get the cover.
Is to not be covered for the following shot. So let's see if she can figure out a way to give Steve a clear angle at that.
22.
She's done it very well,
Yeah.
very well.
Excellent. Just a little touch cannon, well done there.
Wouldn't want to leave the long stuff.
These two are not going to want to play individually again. They're playing so well as a team.
Just turning to Steve for one moment. Steve has been setting the world on light with his break building ability recently within Australian events. I'm aware that he's had a 500 plus and a couple of 400 pluses in only last week actually in events here in Australia. So coming into the main event, he was in good form. Very capable player, very quick, and he sees the game in terms of visual aspects, being able to see the shot very quickly.
Yeah. He's one of those players that his first instinct is probably the right instinct, right? So go with what you see first. Me, I tend to second guess myself.
Not a lot of interaction going on between Anna and Rob here.
Judy, I think, would like to have that one back again. Those shots, while they look so easy, you still have to hit them absolutely pure. With
The secret of that shot, is to get through the ball. You cannot afford to quit on the shot, which is pretty much what Anna did there. She decelerated through the shot, and that's fatal.
And hit it with
Absolutely
a little bit of a snooker stab, right? You have to. The snooker stroke is very much different than the billiard stroke.
It is indeed.
Snooker, it's an abrupt. You know, it has a distinct beginning and a distinct end.
Finish,
Whereas a billiard shot is a long flowing shot. And probably the most classic billiard stroke is Rob Hall. So if we can watch Rob the next time he comes to the table.
Very much so. He really does get through the ball.
Watch how far his Q-tip extends beyond his bridge hand. And that's a classic billiard stroke.
And that's really the result of needing to ensure that you, for the most part, that you don't put accidental stun on the ball to get through the ball, to hit through the top of the ball, because a lot of the play that you see relies on that forward momentum.
And even it's surprising to me, particularly when you watch people like Peter Gilchrist, Mike Russell, Rob Hall, players like that, how they can line up their Q-tip as if they're going to put bottom on the ball, and yet they run that
when they
Q-tip
deliver the ball
through the Q, like, and the ball just flows, right? And they what they end up getting is extra spin on the ball, without the backspin, without the stun.
Scores, please, Grant.
Yes, yeah.
And that is a long time in practicing. Now just watch Rob, even on a straight snooker pot, watch how the Q-tip goes through that ball.
3.
This is probably
A little bit challenging for Anna, this one.
She could definitely use with longer arms.
Team A, 3.
Mind you, she's not left an awful lot for Steve coming to the table here.
No. Will he play this one rail or off the bottom rail?
You would normally probably try and play this 2 rails, I think.
2 rails, yeah.
Gives you
side rail and then bottom rail.
Side rail and
top
bottom rail,
I should say.
Yeah. And he's not quite sure what he's played there. Wide, according to Paul.
Yeah.
He's just given a wide.
It's safe. It's safe.
2.
Nice to see Paul's got a sense of humour here too. Yeah, often with shots like that, which we were just talking about.
Now, is Anna shooting the wrong ball?
No.
Okay.
It's the right ball. Often with shots that we were just talking about there, where the one on the two cushion. To play off the 2 cushion, you give yourself a wider object ball, because you've almost got 3 balls width to be able to judge it off of 2 cushions, whereas to get the thin contact off of 1 cushion only is much more difficult.
Yeah.
And also, to play it that way, you might not end up leaving yourself much at all.
So Rob was trying to point out a shot for Anna, and Paul chased him away from the table.
Team A, 7.
A
little bit of a fatigue setting in, I think, here.
I know exactly how Anna feels. I've missed several pots exactly like that myself this week.
All right, it looked easy. 3.
Now then, Judy. The 1 or the 2 cushion cannon. White's the side cushion here, where the black disc is on the rail.
Yeah.
He's just spotting it correctly for Judy here.
She could, if she wanted, locate the yellow ball far enough wide in the D to make the in off the red.
She could, but then she might lose the red.
She'd
lose the red.
Or if she hit it hard enough, at risk of losing both the red and the white.
Steve's just explaining the shot to her, just to play with the trace the left-hand side, probably. Not too hard, that's the key.
5.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Unfortunately, just a little bit too heavy.
A little heavy, a little hard.
I left Steve with a difficult shot here.
And that is a good illustration right there, Gary, of how supremely easy the game looks and yet how difficult it is. It was a relatively easy shot that Judy made.
Yeah.
The difficulty was in hitting it soft enough to allow yourself the next shot.
Correct. The shot itself was straightforward. Judging the pace is way from straightforward.
Way from straightforward. And that is the essence of English billiards right there.
Yep. And that's often something that the layperson does not appreciate. They don't appreciate those complexities.
And that shot that Anna just played there is another shot that you wouldn't appreciate the difficulty. She was inside the natural half-ball line.
She's played it with
and
extreme
had to play
right-hand side.
Yes, extreme check siding, and did a great job of it.
Yep.
Brilliant job of it.
Now there's another shot here that she hasn't spotted, where she could play from wider over near the other spots in the D to get the cannon from yellow to red, promoting the red across the table and the yellow down the table, but she chose not to play
will
that.
Rob hit this hard enough to get his red near the yellow? Yes, he will.
That's the idea.
Gather them again. There you go. Now here's a chance to get that yellow away from the red, away from the rail, I should say.
Well, again, here with this, it's not overly straightforward. The shot is probably yellow first onto red, but very slowly.
Yeah.
She needs to play it slowly.
Yeah, and keep the red within range of that pocket.
Or push the yellow behind the red. Yeah, she's gone for the first option.
Yeah.
That now then leaves the ability for a short loser off of the yellow from the D.
Yep.
If the red is not in position.
Yeah. And Rob again gathering the balls.
Yeah. She's actually going to play that off the red here now, I think.
Very short Jenny.
No.
Oh no, she's off the red.
And now Rob might choose to play it off yellow perhaps to get it into play. But he's ignoring that difficult shot.
The angles are difficult to see from the angle that we have.
Lost the
Perhaps
red now.
that's too fine a cut.
Now he's left Anna that shot now.
Yeah. Now
Well, she
Anna
can
has
play
no
the-
choice.
She's got to play that short Jenny now. The key with this is pace again. It has to be slowish, otherwise it won't accept it in the pocket. Having said that, she stowed that one in.
Mere mortals like you and I would need mere mortals like you and I would have to play it slow.
She absolutely took that shot in her stride, I think.
Yeah.
So
it's going to be interesting to see how these two partners maneuver the yellow ball around to have a shot at getting the red out of back. Well, we're not keeping track of the score here.
That's
I'm
a little
thinking
bit wide
that they're
there.
getting closer and closer.
Yeah, I don't know what the scores are, unfortunately. Stunning off in the middle for Rob.
In and out of back.
All about pace again.
Very nicely done.
See, even that shot on, she's lost the yellow, I think, here now, maybe.
Yeah, yes, she
has. The shot she's just played there on these tables with the superfine cloth is even more difficult than you would expect because of the slide that you get on the cloth. And you have to spot
it's not the normal angle that you're
You have to
accustomed
spot
to.
it wider. Have to spot
Yes.
it wider.
Yeah.
Stephen Judy, 112, and Rob, 106.
Or play it with a whole lot more check.
Whole lot more check.
Siding
And
than
then
you're
it becomes
accustomed
more
to.
dangerous.
Yes. Tough shot for Steve here. Yeah, there wasn't much there. That was.
Oh, we're getting a score update now.
Oh,
still very
112
close.
for Steve and Judy, over 106 for Rob and Anna.
Pot in the middle. Well done.
And it just made a lovely 3 or 4 pocket double kiss pot.
What
I'm
was
sure
that, Kevin? What was that?
Well, it was
that description again.
The
I'd
3 or
like to
4
run
in the
through that.
jaws, triple kiss, double bank pot,
Oh,
or something
okay.
like that.
Just everything then,
I'm
really.
sure it was
Yeah.
totally well planned.
Okay.
Seemed to have been well thought out.
7.
Another nice shot there from Anna.
Yeah. Oh, is this?
Now,
What is Rob going to do? Is he going to get that pot, that red ball to?
heavy amount of topspin here, I would suggest.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. And now he's left Anna with a similar shot to the last one she played. Cannon from red to yellow, sending the red back up towards the yellow side.
And Anna's saying, "Come
Okay.
on, man, can't you leave me something a little easier?"
12.
She was equal to the task.
She was. So does Rob play the full table cannon here, or does he go for the pot?
cannon
No, full table
is a risk
cannon.
of putting the yellow in the middle, and he's just avoided it. Just avoided it.
Is this red going to bounce enough to leave a shot? No, it's not. Not much there. Well, Anna, good luck with this. This is going to take some creativity.
Extreme left-hand side, one cushion cannon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Team A, 14.
For those amateurs among us who are probably 99% of billiards players, that shot is extremely difficult to know how thin you can hit it because it's difficult to judge how much deflection you're going to get. You know, or squirt or whatever.
Yeah, on a shot like that, you're almost looking to play to miss the object ball, so that the deflection you get on the shot pulls your cue ball back to the object ball, so that you get the required contact.
Yeah.
That's almost the key.
And for the inexperienced player, that is difficult to have the nerve to aim to miss.
Yeah.
Here's a little touch shot. Perfectly executed.
Lost the yellow.
Oh. It's probably 2 points more than they wanted out of that shot.
Great drag in off from Rob.
That was a gutsy shot.
That was a gutsy shot. A little bit of an exhibition shot, I think, there from Rob.
Probably not what we could expect Sourav and Peter to be playing in this final hour-long session coming up. We probably won't see that shot, will we?
With only 2 balls on the table, that's a categoric no, I think.
Great shot by Steve.
Another good shot from Steve there.
Nice combination of pace and drag.
Full house, almost.
That's okay. This is a thoroughly makeable shot for Judy.
Yeah, the shot here has got to be the short loser off the red, I think, probably.
I think so, yeah. It's just a little outside the natural line, so just a little bit of pace or a little bit of right-hand side. The right-hand side carries the day.
Nicely played. Now, this is one of those drop cannons that pace, again, is all important. Not too heavy, almost wants to lay on the white.
10.
Having said that, again, Steve has proved me completely wrong and played his alternative shot.
Because the danger is that you hit the red too full, it hits the end cushion and then bounces out of play up the side rail. That's a very nice shot there.
15.
Nicely played shot, that.
15.
Again, too wide here, so Judy's going to have to play the one cushion cannon off the back cushion.
Off the end rail.
Yep.
Steve is setting up so she'd prefer not to hit it fully flush off the back rail. She'd prefer to clip an edge.
The key with these shots is to pinpoint in visually a point on the cushion where you want your cue ball to hit to make the cannon.
Yes.
And she's done that perfectly.
Yes. Probably a little bit more than perfectly.
Yeah.
Talk about nipping an edge.
But it's ideal.
Yeah.
19. No.
So we come up to almost the 18-minute mark now. Not mine.
21.
And the commentators in the box are being driven crazy by the sound of an alarm here that we're unable to identify the location of.
The said mobile phone. Swap with me. Yeah? Oh, okay. Just having a
I'm filling in for
little change of commentary here. And I'm joined by...
Dale McKay.
Welcome, Dale.
Thank you.
26.
Ooh.
28.
We've still got a mobile phone going off somewhere here within the commentary box, but we can't locate it. So, sorry for the noise for those that are viewing at the moment. Okay, maybe
How do we put this on, Dan?
maybe while we have this short interlude here, that our producer will be able to get us a score update, perhaps.
33.
Oh,
Praveen Chandra's just walked in. Praveen, would you do us the courtesy of being able to get us a score update, please, from the arena? We don't have visual here, unfortunately. Okay, and the combination of Steve Mifsud and Judy Dangerfield continue to make good progress. Stringing quite a few nice shots together. Unfortunate there, Steve just missed the difficult cannon. Not quite sure what that break was, but with the referees clapping, so it must have been a worthy contribution, I think.
it's a lovely forcer to get the white in there and just slightly out of balk.
This game. Oh, okay.
And is going for a short Jenny here.
And that was very well played. Very well played.
Beautifully executed. Beautifully executed.
Again, Rob may decide to try and play the up and down cannon here to just pull the red out into play. Weight here is important.
Yeah, very well
and he's
done.
played it perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. In fact, too well.
Well, yeah, actually too well.
He did well to put that there. But he's left a nice standard short loser for Anna into the opposite corner pocket. Pulling the red up somewhere mid-table.
Yeah, nicely done. Oh, she's got some options
Rob has
here.
a choice here now, in off the red into the middle, or he could decide to play the in off yellow. Pulling the yellow up halfway, or a third of the way up the table rather. He's hit that a little bit too hard. Now Anna's got the in off red into the centre. Dropping a red down there to the spot. Commentator's curse again. She's
nicely, she's just out. So
she's come up with a different alternative. Short Jenny for Rob now into the middle. Gathering shot for the red to the yellow.
Thanks very much.
Picking things up,
current world champion women's billiard player making a decision. And beautifully done.
23. Five.
what a nice shot that is.
They don't have any doubles world championships, do they? Of any format?
Sorry?
No doubles world championship of any format? in
No,
billiards?
no doubles world championship. No. In
Is
fact,
there any? Do you reckon?
doubles at billiards is quite a rare game, actually.
Yeah.
Very infrequently played. I would suggest probably only at club level, and again only probably between groups of friends. Really, I think it's nothing more than that generally. This is a little bit of a novelty with the Scotch doubles here. Adds a bit of another dimension to things, and the reason for this particular exhibition, I suppose you could call it here, the Scotch doubles, is to formally launch the Walter Lindrum Foundation, which I'm sure Peter Tankard will talk a little bit more about a little bit later. So I won't go into too much detail here now.
Yeah, well, I'm not sure how many people understand how much Walter Lindrum did for the charity aspect of billiards, but from my reading, and I wasn't around when Walter Lindrum was playing. I understand he raised £1 million in charity for charity through billiards, and that's quite an awesome. If you think about it in terms of
in today's money,
back in those days when Walter Lindrum was playing,
significant sum of money,
40s, 50s, 60s. And I was actually selling Heralds the day that Walter Lindrum died, and I remember him being on the front of the newspapers then. And to think in terms of the amount of money he raised is quite enormous for charity. And what a wonderful human being he was.
And that, as I referenced, the foundation that's being launched here with this this particular exhibition is aligned to charitable purposes.
Wonderful.
As I say, I won't go into too much detail here. I'll leave that to others a little bit later. All will become clear.
There's Steve Bissett giving some advice here.
A little bit of on-field coaching.
Yes. Judy's got a beautiful cueing action.
Very
she
good
reminds me
cues.
of Peter Hawkes, who
Very
is a
good
great
cues.
Australian snooker champion. Peter Hawkes won the Australian Championship back in 1987. And Judy reminds me, when she gets down, of Peter Hawkes, who I think has got one of the great classic cueing actions. Beautiful cueist, and she reminds me every time she gets down. You don't see too many women playing snooker and billiards these days. It's a wonderful sport. I hope that more people take it
17 to Team B. What are the scores, please, Grant?
Got a lovely classic cueing action.
Very full stroke in terms of her stance and the way she delivers the cue.
Yes.
Okay, so we're just under the 10-minute mark now in terms of the time left within this particular game. I wish I had a handle on the scores here in the commentary box, but unfortunately we don't have that facility for this particular game here now, and we are reliant on the production team for providing that information.
Somebody might run out.
And I think they seem to have...
Level. There we go.
Just before that break. So.
Level on what? Okay. So we've just been advised that the scores are almost level at 165-ish. With just over 8 minutes left. I must apologise at this point to the viewers for not being able to provide the scores in a more timely manner or having them on the on-screen visual, but I hope you'll appreciate that the main event takes precedent in terms of production, and the facility just isn't there for us to be able to double up on that at this particular time, unfortunately.
A little bit of a cover there, so we're going to take a little bit of a inventive shot to get over here. I think Anna's going to do a run through to try and get a cannon. And she does it beautifully.
Very, very good shot.
Yeah, well done. Current world champion, 2019 women's world champion, playing a beautiful shot there. A little bit of check.
Yeah, a little bit of good fortune as well, I would say.
I think he was
Not quite as
cannon
intended.
there.
I think he was indeed,
Pretty
definitely.
sure he was. And Anna's got a bit of a wry smile on her face.
I think they all have. Steve's, see the whites of Steve's teeth smiling away.
Team A 16.
There's a few smiles around the table there with those shots. As a 2002 World Amateur Snooker Champion. He was an absolutely magical billiard player also, Steve Mifsud.
And a very lovely and unassuming guy as well, I would have to say.
Let me
Steve
tell
is-
you, I've known Steve Mifsud's family for about 30 years now, from when Steve was young, and James Mifsud. And Steve Mifsud, the whole family, they are really a class act.
Yeah.
Steve Mifsud would be one of the most humble champions that you could possibly meet.
Absolutely.
And I remember when he won the World Championship, his father rang me to tell me about the Amateur World Championship he won. But Steve is just one of the most humble people that you possibly know. And the wonderful things about him and his family, I remember playing him a couple of years ago in a billiard championship, and I recall him, we were, something like 70, pretty level in the match, and he ended up making a break of 228. And I thought to myself, when we were 70 all, that I had a chance of beating him, and then I realised the class. But at the end of the match, Steve would always say something complimentary to you.
And that is a mark. That is a mark of the man. Actually, it really is.
He is a very humble
absolutely
person.
Absolutely.
And I love the family. I miss his dad, who was a wonderful billiard player and an enthusiast for the game, and that's why both James and Steve are champion players.
Well, you mentioned James. I mean, we talked there about the kind of bloodlines. We've got a fantastic Q Sports family there, with James now is arguably possibly better than Steve in Australian terms, snooker-wise. I think he's got the edge on Steve a little bit now on national level, has he?
I'm not actually sure. I think they're both equally capable of beating each other.
Yeah.
James Mifsud, I've had the misfortune of actually coming up against him in a Victorian Championship, and James has the record of a 146 break against me, sadly. I'm delighted that he got the break. I remember other great champions standing around him, Stan Gorski, players on other tables. There's a Victorian Championship going back a few years now, but James Mifsud, it was a majestic break. And
not quite Ronnie-esque, I wouldn't suggest, with that 146 that we all remember.
No, but it was equally as majestic in terms of the break, and I do recall a great. He got down to the colour balls and
leaving the red over the hole.
Majestic yellow ball to do a 146, and that's still a record. But James, I think, is a beautiful cueist, but I think Steve has the record for more championships than any other player in Australia.
Oh, he does indeed.
He's the most decorated player in Australia.
Absolutely right.
And but but I reiterate the point that he's just a champion person, which is much more important. He's just a wonderful person, which is a testament to his father as to how he brought him up.
Sure. Well, we approach 2.5 minutes remaining now.
We've got Bobby McGlass looking on here, who is a 5-time Victorian champion, and he's a nonagenarian. He's in his 90s. How old are you now, Bob? 90. He's a wonderful person, Bob. Yes, you're a wonderful person. I love seeing you every time. Bob drives from Geelong and comes down, and he's a wonderful supporter of the game.
Wow, very good.
Just a wonderful human being. Thanks for
Very
coming
good.
down, Bob.
When I get a bit of practice, I'll practice for 10 years and I'll make a comeback.
I hope you do, Bob. And you know what? I think you'll probably give them a bit of a run for their money too, Bob.
Team B, 5.
And thank you, Dan, for doing this wonderful,
Right, that's it. An official
what you do with Cue Ball TV.
Major shout out to Dan, I have to say. It's phenomenal
exceptional.
production.
You know, I've been
phenomenal
watching
production
on Cue Ball TV, and we often don't think about it. We get online and we look at the different cue sports that you put on, and people don't appreciate the amount of work. I've seen you actually set up, and it's great what you do. You give us the pleasure of being able to watch, and thank you very much, Dan.
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's the game shop window really for the modern age, and as you rightly say, the quality of production and the professionalism is just quite simply outstanding. Really, it would rival TV production in lots of ways.
Absolutely outstanding, and the fact of the matter is that the equipment that goes into actually producing this, it costs a lot of money to be able to support the technology that goes into this.
Indeed.
And we're all appreciative, but I think the public needs to also be appreciative of this. We've got 12 seconds to go for this. I'm not sure of the amount. The
countdown time almost.
Team B, 7.
I just had a miss there from Judy.
I think we're pretty much there now. The table clock is not quite synced to the clock, the visual that we have. There we go, that's the end. I'm not quite sure, again, because of our commentary position and the lack of ability to be able to see the scoring, what the final outcome was, but I think I'm right in saying it may well have been Steve and Judy that took the honours here, I think.
Not really
and
sure.
Dan, our producer's not sure either. It would be nice to find out before we sign off for the viewers, I think, probably. Having said that, it's not about a winner, it's about the
well, I can see bigger smiles on the face of Anna and Rob. So I'm suggesting that they possibly would have won it.
Maybe indeed.
Just by the body language. I'm just judging by the body language there.
Right, well, I'm going to sign off in commentary now.
Yep, thank you.
And we'll get ready for the resumption of these. We've just been advised that Rob and Anna were the winners. As I was saying, I'm going to sign off in commentary now, and we'll get ready in not too long from now for the resumption of the final hour of the World Final between Peter Gilchrist and Sourav Kothari.
Yeah, so what's the smiles?
The money will go towards the development of cue sports, especially the women's billiards. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. These 4 players will pack up their gear and move out of here. We'll get ourselves in position for the last hour of the most intriguing final in the history of the World Billiards Championship. We We have Sourav Kothari on 917, Peter Gilchrist at the table on 14 unfinished, which makes him 949. So this promises to be an extremely exciting hour to finish things off.